What is going on, everybody? It is episode 690 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett, and I am here once again with my co-host. Introduce yourself, please.
Hello, Crisis Actors. It's Mary. Happy Thursday. And because it's a Thursday, we invited Libby, who's finishing a snickerdoodle right now. You know, you said you were having a bang job of a day, but I hope that the cookie would help.
Yeah, it was very helpful.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
we'll let her finish chewing, ladies and gentlemen. It's
Very demure.
Yes.
You're being very
Very
demure
mindful.
with it. Very mindful. Covering the mouth.
It's is that like a test? It's like when they say to you ever have people tell you like if you want to test whether somebody's a guy's sexuality, you ask them to look at their nails to see if they look like this or if they look like
this or that.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
It's like
But this is the straight way.
this is the a guy looks at his nails like this. A straight guy looks
Yeah.
at his nails like this. If he looks like this, you ask
he
questions.
might
manicure.
he
This
might
is
be
like
a little
admiring.
Yeah, but it's like I don't know any guys who go like this when if they're like chewing.
But what do they
right?
do? Wait, have you noticed that every like English teacher eats a Caesar salad and then does this with her finger?
Yes.
Woman eating salad alone and laughing.
Why is it like that? Why is it like
The little
that?
fork.
With the fork.
Yeah.
Yeah, 110.
I've never seen that.
As soon as you said it, I knew what you were talking about.
I don't think I've ever seen
and
English teachers eating salad.
I don't think it has to even just be an English teacher. I think if you went
Whatever.
to any...
Every time I saw one of my teachers eating lunch, it was just fork.
If you went to like
The people listening and not
this,
watching right now
yeah.
are not going to have any clue what we're talking about.
It's like
they
you go to-
they hook their index finger over their mouth while they're chewing, and they're thinking about how to answer your question about the quiz.
it's probably from I'm going to go back and watch movies now, and it's totally going to be in there.
I sometimes notice myself doing it. I'm like, stop!
Yeah.
You're becoming your English teacher right now.
Don't do it. Don't do it at all. Guys,
Not that I had any problem with my teachers.
we got a bunch of stuff to get into today, guys, but before we do, would you go ahead and hit the like button on this video and subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already. We have passed 135,000 subscribers, so thank you all so much for that. Remember to share the video with your friends, your family, your loved ones, people you like, people you don't like, everyone in between. The more people you share this show with, the faster shows like this grow, so thank you so much for that. And remember that all Super Chats, $20 and over, we will interrupt the discussion, we will read those Super Chats right then and there, and then we will do our best to get back on topic. So what are we getting into today? Well, much to the chagrin of people yesterday who were saying stop talking about politics, which I did see people saying it's relevant right now in the Hollywood space because we're coming up on an election in like what, less than 2 months?
Yeah.
Now?
Yeah, less than 2 months.
Less than 2 months. So, a lot of these celebrities who are going out to do interviews and stuff where they're pushing their newest album, or maybe they've got a reality show coming out, or you're just Usher. I don't know what he could possibly be promoting, but the point being that, they're
Promoting stealing yo girl.
they're getting asked questions about, their political views. And we noticed a trend, at least today, following Taylor Swift's endorsement of Kamala Harris, we saw a trend where, a lot of women are telling you who they're going to go out and vote for. And men are deciding to say, look, do your own research and then go make a decision for yourself.
Leave me out of this.
Leave me out of this. So we're going to get into that. We are also going to talk about an upcoming movie that got a very rousing, 18-minute standing ovation.
Which is just psychotic in and of itself. But
that Mary has described as a pro-death movie.
Yes, it's explicitly made to promote euthanasia.
It's called The Room Next Door.
The Room Next Door, starring Tilda Swinton.
Yep.
So we're gonna get into
So we're
it.
gonna
I'm not gonna watch it,
No.
but they absolutely loved it, and that says everything about them.
So we're going to talk about that. Also, John Cena recently gave an interview. It was a couple weeks ago now.
On Club Shay Shay.
Yes, who got into his own trouble the other day. We should have brought that up. But he did an interview in which he reiterated his point, which he's had several times before, that he doesn't have any interest in having kids. So we're going to go through it. We're going to talk about his reasoning for doing that, and then make our own assessments of what that means for the culture at large. So if you... Me and Mary already had a very spirited debate about it before the show.
It wasn't even a debate, honestly. I don't think that we even disagreed all that much.
No, we just come at it from different perspectives.
Yeah.
I don't come at it from a religious perspective. But we'll get into it. We got a bunch of other stuff to get into. If you ladies are ready, we can just get started. Mary, you ready?
Let's go.
Libby?
All set.
She's all set. All right. First things first, let's get started. Oh, by the way, I keep doing this thing where every day before we start the show, I mean to make sure that I'm on topic one right before we go live, but every day I forget, and I have to then find the box.
I'll
before-
start making a checklist for you.
We are good. First thing we're going to talk about is Sabrina Carpenter made a bold and amazing statement about immigration last night. No, I'm just kidding. She kissed an alien at the VMAs.
An illegal alien getting transgender surgery in prison.
Is that what it was? I missed
right.
that part.
Yeah.
There it is. She's kissing the alien.
A lot of men are wishing that they were that alien right now.
I was told it was a female alien.
Oh, was it?
It was supposedly it's a
Okay.
female alien. I didn't know that.
Look, I don't know the genders of these transgender aliens.
Do aliens
I don't
even
know.
have, that they clearly don't procreate the same way, so does it even matter?
Dare I even ask how they do that?
It's like when I was watching the movie Independence Day for the first time, even when I was a kid, and it made no sense that an alien with a long tentacle arm would have touch screen controls in his spaceship.
Oh yeah, that is weird.
Why? They communicate telepathically. Why wouldn't they just
Yeah.
have telepathic computer communication?
Well, might be hard to create telepathic communication.
If you're a Hollywood writer, you
'Cause
can do it
your
really easy. You
computer
just
would
say
have
it
to be
exists.
conscious as well. Yeah, perhaps.
Libby, it surprised me that you were as interested in the VMAs as you were.
Oh,
we were
I'm
talking
always
about it a little bit
interested in the
before the show.
VMAs.
But like,
I'm
no one
interested
really
in
watches
all
the
awards
televised
shows.
VMAs, right?
You like them?
I like the outfits.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
my favorite part is seeing everyone show up in their outfits.
Okay.
Which is, it's not the Met Gala, but people treat every award show like it's the Met Gala now.
Well, women
Well,
do
the
it
Met
because
Gala, they typically dress better. Certainly in the case
They
of
try.
the VMAs. Like, they looked awful last night. Everyone looked bad.
I hate to
Every
say it.
outfit was really terrible.
Like, Taylor Swift was giving sex appeal, but her dress when she showed up was not
tartan
great. It
chic
was
is
not
not
good.
really I hated her dress.
There's a
And she
20
looked
there.
good because
Oh.
she kind of always looks good, She's an
Yeah.
attractive person, but like, I did not think that she had chosen a very good dress. What was
got-
that like? Maybe if she was
Plaid.
doing a premiere of some kind of Hogwarts
It was like
movie.
plaid with pleather belt straps up here, and then like the middle was empty.
and shorts.
I don't know.
She's wearing shorts.
But she, her girls were out, which is rare for her. We got a 20 from Ashley Epps. Hello, wonderful Brett and Mary. Happy Thursday. Just wanted to say hi and that I love this show. And hello to lovely Libby. That's so
thanks.
sweet.
Well,
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Look, I don't. I catch these things like a respectable person these days, which is by clips on social media.
Is this a humiliation ritual?
No, it's like
Is it queer baiting?
This is the thing. When people say stuff like that, artsy people love this shit. Like they probably love it. And here's the thing: the worst part is she probably loves it because she's on stage, and there's some production designer and stagehand who's going to have a conversation with the creative director of this, who's going to tell you the deep, meaningful reason why this is important, and you'll just be like, it was a woman kissing an alien in a polyester suit.
Oh my gosh, someone is saying that Sabrina Carpenter is a Scientologist?
I don't know if that's true.
Since when?
I have no idea if that's true.
But she
I
said
saw that. I don't know if that's true.
it was debunked. I don't know. I'll have to look into that further because I've been wanting to get into like Hollywood's Scientology.
Yeah.
That's like a whole.
Well, we talked about
obviously,
it.
It's such a whole thing.
We talked about it on
Jamie
Monday
Masterson,
because
yeah.
the new lead singer of Linkin Park is a Scientologist.
Oh, really?
Emily Armstrong. And we talked about, we spent about 8 minutes total talking about her connection to Danny Masterson because she went to the pretrial hearing and then never went again.
Oh, interesting.
But then the rest of the time we just talked about whether she's a suitable replacement for Chester Bennington. She's not.
She's not.
She's not, right?
But
Yeah.
No one
Not
would
in my
be.
opinion. Not in my opinion.
No one would be. At that point, just start a new band.
They should have just created
Yeah.
a new band.
Like, it's kind of disrespectful if you think about it.
All
That's
right.
what Joy Division did.
Yeah.
When Ian Curtis died, they created New Order. They didn't continue being Joy Division.
It's desperate.
It is desperate.
Chapel Roan is back in the news. And before you ask, you already know what a Chapel Roan is because we keep telling you.
Yes, she is a rising star right now in the music industry. This was her first ever appearance at the VMAs, which is a big deal for her. She dressed up as Joan of Arc on the red carpet.
You did not like that. You told
I
me
did not
you were
find
explicit
that
in telling me that
very-
this morning.
And she
Yeah.
looked awful. Like, not only are you not Joan of Arc.
Well, I thought she looked pretty and everything.
Oh, I didn't think so. I thought
just-
the outfit was just so unattractive.
I
and
find
made her
it
look bad.
distasteful because I think that a lot of people are obsessed with rewriting the history around Joan of Arc specifically. coming up with theories that, you know, she was actually an LGBT icon and stuff like that. And she's also...
Did you see the new Abraham Lincoln movie that peruses the idea that he's gay, that he was gay?
No.
Or that he was, I'm sorry, that he was bisexual?
I saw some headline
like,
about
Lover,
him sharing a bed with
yes.
a man, but I thought they all had like beds the size of a penny.
Well, yeah, like there was a whole bunch of
Which is
people in the comments who
appropriate.
seemed to be thoroughly debunking this, but it was really funny
Okay.
to read the director be like, "I'm not doing this with an agenda." I'm like, "Yeah, okay."
Well, she has this like very plunging neckline, dressed up as a female saint.
Well, let's watch this clip first. She's not acting very saint-like, if that's
Well,
the
yeah.
if that's the point here.
So there's a photographer.
Who did the photographer say that to?
To her,
Why did
one
he
of the
say that?
photographers told her to shut the F up.
Why?
I don't know, because she wasn't even talking. And like, no doubt, the guy was probably out of line for that. And I can't say that I wouldn't do the same thing in her shoes.
Mm-hmm.
But overall, it's not a good look to be one of the talent on a red carpet yelling at the proles, you know? Like, that's not a good look. She's not too concerned with being marketable and likable.
I think it's perfectly in line with Hollywood shenanigans and antics.
Yeah.
I also like this guy in the background who's just like, "Leave me out of this. I got nothing to do with
Her
this."
knight.
Her knight is just like, "Look,
who
I
rolled
wouldn't yell
out
at anybody."
he rolled out like a different carpet for her. He rolled
Yeah.
out like a medieval carpet for her. But yeah, she's not the first person to get into an argument with paparazzi. Like, it's nothing
Isn't
new.
that like Kanye West's whole jam?
Yeah.
Isn't he always
Yeah.
chasing paparazzi?
A lot of people just thought that this sounded entitled for her.
Well, I mean, paparazzi killed Princess Di too. You know, I mean, why not just tell them to stay
I
back?
would like to know. This is a classic activist editing technique too. You don't show what conversation precipitated this.
Mm-hmm.
For all we know, she told the dude to back the fuck up and get your camera out of my face.
Right,
when he's
right.
just doing his job. We don't know.
It's like, you're on a red
Yeah.
carpet and there are photographers. That's kind of the point.
Shocking. Shocking.
Imagine my shock when there are the photographers at a red carpet.
She's like, "What are all these flashes going off?
Yeah.
I don't like this."
Yeah, so then she went into an interview with Entertainment Tonight and told them about this altercation she had.
This is quite overwhelming and quite scary. I think for someone who gets a lot of anxiety around people yelling at you, the carpet is horrifying. Yeah. And I yelled back. I yelled back. You don't get to yell at me like that. This is quite.
Chapel.
Oh, Chapel.
you.
There's a big super chat there from Boosted Yogi. Thank you, Boosted Yogi.
Is that a $50 super chat? Wow,
Yep.
thank you. My daughter yesterday brought home a book from the book fair titled Taylor Swift All Access. In the book, there is a chapter about her politics. I thought it was weird someone would publish a book for elementary school kids talking about her politics.
I don't think that's weird. I think that's exactly the type of thing they want to do.
That
I think
makes
so, too.
total sense.
Was it a Scholastic book?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that actually makes 110%
I mean,
perfect sense to me.
At least it's not pornography.
Yeah.
Count your lucky stars.
We're grading on a curve now. Like it's like she's got her clothes on though, right? Oh, that's good.
They're
Fantastic.
teaching kids about abortion, but at least they're not giving them step-by-step guides on fellatio, right?
We'll take our wins where we can get them.
It's not
Yeah.
a step-by-step guide. It's just a little commentary.
And then there was this other one here where it's,
Yeah,
I like
this-
the comment from this person who's got the they've got the watermelon emoji. So
In another interview, she talked about her hatred for men. Here, let's watch.
Girls are more interesting. Period. Like, why do you think that like Britney?
Thank you.
dance slow. Okay.
I think that like Britney's sorry, you're good. You had like the most iconic performances are all women, and like they look at my outfit. Just look at
Put a girl on.
Besides Shabuzi, who tried, and it's like there's a reason why girl pop stars dominate. It's because like we're art and like We look like it. We sing.
It's a
like
fantastic way to brag about being a corporate product. Like
We are
design
art.
all clothes like likely designed and picked by gay men.
Actually, very true. And their makeup artists and hairstylists are probably gay men as well.
Yeah, it's and then mass marketed by men with companies
So true.
run and owned by men.
Your record label's likely
Well,
run
and
by
also,
men.
yeah, and also the whole like women pop star thing was a manufactured, record industry
This
thing
was actually
anyway.
really funny. So I was I sent Mary these two lists today that I got that said the last 5 years at the VMAs, the best new artist and winner for best song have always been women. And I said, that's not surprising to me.
Yeah.
So I went through the best new artists. Like I went to ChatGPT as like, give me a list of the most influential new artists from this year. And pretty much every one of them fell in line where the person that won was easily the most recognizable name
Yeah.
there. But that's because they don't, like, there's no interest for, back in the day, you promoted male pop stars to young girls because they were teenagers on the verge of adulthood and they took an interest in men because they were straight
Boy
women.
crazy.
They
They
were
were
boy
boy
crazy. Now, with the rise of LGBTQIA plus in entertainment, you don't have to do that anymore. Plus, you get to pay them like half as much. So it's
Right.
fine.
Yeah, that's
Like
true.
you don't have to do any like
That gender
imagine
comes
that
in
like
handy.
at 70% of the pay rate. Give me a break. Why
Men
would you
aren't
promote
really
men
doing
at all?
pop.
No, well, yeah, because the men are still selling out stadium, like rock bands are still selling out stadiums and stuff like that. Creed is still
They're
doing
in
big numbers and
Rock, country,
Yeah.
rap. Just there aren't really
Like,
men
it-
in pop now.
yeah.
Well, who were the last big men in pop? I mean, like
Justin Bieber,
Justin Bieber,
Shawn
that makes
Mendes,
sense.
One Direction.
Justin
Those are all
Timberlake.
early 2010s was
Yeah.
the end of that era for like boy crazy straight girls, and now Chapel Roan is the lesbian pop icon. Like this is what they're pushing now. It makes total sense.
She looks like she got rejected from the Hocus Pocus sequel.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Like, yeah, I
I
don't
still
think she
I
looks
still
good at
find
all.
her more interesting than your average pop star today. We
Yeah.
covered
Do
some
you like
stuff
her
with-
music? I haven't heard it.
I don't listen to her music.
I mean, I think she's a good singer. Yeah,
Like-
but she's. I just see like these old performances from the VMAs. I watched Lady Gaga's 2009 performance of Paparazzi, and it was actually really original and well done and genuinely provocative. And no one is doing it like that anymore.
Who? I'm sorry.
It's Lady Gaga
Yeah.
back in 2009. Like she's the media is trying to make you believe like, yeah, Chapel Roan is like the new Lady Gaga. No.
No,
No.
no. Lady Gaga could really sing. She has an interesting fashion sense. Her VMA outfit was raw meat tied together as a dress. You remember? Like
Yeah.
that was
In the
that's
chats.
interesting. That's
Yeah.
more interesting than your fake Hocus Pocus reject Joan of Arc look.
In the chat, somebody said Adam Levine was the last male pop star.
Who's Adam Levine?
Maroon
From
5
Maroon
guy.
5? I mean, chronologically, I wouldn't say so because Justin Bieber came after that.
that, yeah.
And
What
he
about
did
the
get Best New
K-pop
Artist.
stuff. What about those guys?
Right. I think the only men in pop now are K-pop artists. That's a good point. And
Well,
they're
part
all
of
in
it, too,
these
is nobody
huge
wants,
groups.
Yeah, nobody can be just like a white guy who's cute anymore. That's
Right.
just not allowed.
Yeah. Like Justin Bieber was the last
even-
white heterosexual.
Yeah, I was even looking at the looks from the red carpet, and there weren't a lot of white guys on the carpet at all. The ones who were there was like one guy, and I couldn't tell if he was actually trans and female. But then everybody else was kind of just there with like a date.
Do you remember who it was?
No, but I could find it
don't
very
know.
easily because I literally put it in my newsletter this morning.
It's just, I did notice that she mentioned Shabuzi, who isn't getting the attention, given as much of attention, considering that he's had like the biggest song on the charts this whole
What's
summer.
his song?
It's
I
Bar
didn't-
Song.
Tipsy.
Yeah.
That's right. That's right.
Which is funny because I wanted to do the whole topic talking about how Beyonce's dad was saying that she was snubbed for a CMA award because of the color of her skin. I'm like, bro, they nominated Lil Nas X in 2019.
I thought that
Right.
they just didn't like it.
It's just not good.
Her country music
sometimes
wasn't
it's just
good.
not good. But my point was that they nominated Lil Nas X, who was a gay black man in 2019. So if the bigotry is as deeply felt as you say it is, they wouldn't have done that. And the Shabuzi, that is labeled as country and was the #1 on the charts this year and made a big showing. So clearly it's not true. Plus Darius Rucker has been a thing for like 20 years. So you're wrong.
There were two. There was the Kid Leroy.
Oh, right. That guy.
He was also not as big as the
male?
other people in that list that I had. There was another artist that year that was bigger. I forget which year that was, if that was 2021. But point being that, they're all looking to to prove that they've, survived some struggle to get where they are.
It's just so funny that the caption is, finally someone who publicly hates men. Is that supposed to be self-aware?
I think
like
that's funny.
ironic, given that every female celebrity publicly hates men, or are they genuinely surprised?
Oh, and the other
can't
one
tell.
was Knox. Someone called Knox.
Okay, never heard of that
Well,
person.
yeah.
You'd think I would
Looks
have.
trans.
They're not sending their best.
They're not.
They're not.
I mean, there was not a lot of masculine energy on the carpet last night.
No. I mean, not like I'm saying, Justin Bieber was like the peak of masculinity. No. But he was a white heterosexual male pop star being marketed to young girls. That's not a thing anymore. That is
No,
not
now you have this
that
guy.
is not an institution anymore.
Teddy Swims. What is that?
Who the hell are these people?
That was the other thing I couldn't
Well, I
figure
mean,
out.
it's
I was
the-
like, there was no Billie Eilish,
Oh yeah, where was she? I guess she
What's
didn't
the
make
deal
it.
with that?
All right, so let's move on. There's a collaboration Mary needs to tell us all about that just happened.
The epic collaboration of the two most controversial internet tradwives, Hannah Nealman, Ballerina Farm, and Nara Smith. And they took a photo together with their babies and their husbands. I believe Nara and her husband Lucky went to Utah to visit Ballerina Farm and do this little moment for social media. And it got a lot of people talking because they're so widely hated.
The kid in the background is like biting his nail. I thought he was smoking a cigarette at first. I was like, it's like right out of
That
the
would be real trad,
the
wouldn't
70s.
it? Get kids smoking again. But, given the fact that they are both Mormon couples, I was like, is this going to turn into some weird sister wives thing?
Nara
like
Smith is
Utah
definitely-
swingers moment.
Nara Smith is definitely like Ron DeSantis. She doesn't know how to smile.
This is the closest I've ever seen Nara Smith to like actually cracking a smile on her face, and it wasn't
good
even
for her. Good
It
for her.
wasn't fully committing, but yeah.
Sometimes it's on brand.
I just know that like they were doing this to get a rise out of people, and I'm
it work?
kind of here for it. But given the fact that they're Mormon, I was like,
I'm sorry. I
it's
mentioned
gonna get weird.
I mentioned this to you before the show. I mean, is it just me? But their outfits look like costumes. They do.
Well,
They all like.
Well, they all match too, so that's very
they're color coordinated.
that's very costumey.
Like the Hannah Nealman's husband at least looks like he works in his clothes.
Someone said Lucky and Ballerina Farm would have had cute kids. Look, they're Mormon. That's still on the table. It's an option.
Careful. They'll make a
Be
reality show.
careful.
There'll be a reality show about it if you're not careful.
Did you hear about that show?
Yes.
There's this Hulu show about a bunch of Mormon wives from Utah
Really?
who ended up becoming swingers, and they all got with each other's husbands, and now there's a reality show about all of them.
That sounds disgusting.
Yeah. Yeah.
Why do we want that?
I don't know. I guess it's just a fascination with both, Mormon culture and degeneracy mixed into one thing.
Well, people are super into degeneracy. That's like
Yeah.
a very big theme
I s-
in today's culture.
I sent Mary and so on Monday we covered this story in New York City about a dating in New York City. You don't have to use a dating app anymore. You just go to a wall in Brooklyn and you put your picture on a wall and you scan a QR code and you pay $60 and they and you try to get set up with somebody on the same wall as you. And then in the same day I found this other article about a throuples dating site that I just knew. I was like, I'm glad Mary isn't here because her head would have exploded if she was here.
Throuples dating
Throuples
app
dating
nearly
site?
doubles turnover to $39.5 million in revenue.
Yeah.
So it's a dating platform made for swingers and polyamorous people. I shudder to think.
Maybe at least that gets them off of the other dating apps. Like,
Yeah,
a friend
just-
of mine is on dating apps, and she's always like,
sequester them off.
Everything is disgusting. Like, I don't want to be part of your throuple. You know,
Yeah.
I'm just looking for a good man.
Wait, is that something that the guys are like, sorry, I'm only interested if you're looking to be my second girlfriend?
I
Well,
don't
no,
know.
there
She's
are
seeing all
dating
kinds of weird
profiles
stuff.
where like it will say we're looking for a third, and the photos are the couple in question.
I find it funny. It's like, maybe if humanity had mastered like two-person dating first, then we could have talked about this, but humanity isn't doing any better at like the two-person dating. What gives you the hubris to think that you could do more
I mean,
as a whole?
I think monogamy is the best.
Yeah.
The best thing we've found.
Yeah.
It's also, I mean, the other thing too about it is we know that monogamy is the best environment to raise children in, you know, and that like two-parent household, that's very important. We know that already. So I think a lot of what we're seeing is, and I keep thinking about like, you know, the end of Rome and Nero and all of that stuff. But I think what we keep seeing are people that are so obsessed with the present moment and with experiencing, you know, pleasure right now, right this second, without any concern or consideration for their future. You know, one thing I'm constantly trying to impress on my kid and something for myself is like, would future me be happy about this?
Yeah.
No, future me is going to be pissed if I do this.
Society
you know what I mean?
works-
Like future me is going to love it if I clean the kitchen right now, because then future me won't have to do it.
That's how I feel about dishes.
Exactly.
I just do like, there's 3 dishes in the sink. I'm like, but imagine if there was 6.
Right,
I'll just
like-
do them now.
There's this
Exactly.
obsession with self-love, and it's about like loving your present self. You should love your future self.
Also, society works
Yeah.
overtime to teach them that the world is going to end anyways, and that, you know, like nihilism is pretty deeply felt in society right now.
Well, and people are so upset about climate change.
Well, that's kind of what I'm
which
implying.
they're
Is
already
like,
talking about all the time, and like they're using. But the other thing too is they're using these, you know, ginned up existential threats as a way to find meaning, because we've killed God. So it's like if you put all of your faith in fixing climate change so that your present self can enjoy life better, that's your new kind of meaning that you have created as your, like, you know, reason for existing.
It's one of those arguments that's always funny to me, because if you have a rudimentary understanding of how news works, which is how most people get their information relayed to them about climate change, the average person isn't reading studies. Not to say that that doesn't happen, but, you know, the average person, they're going by what what is relayed to them through the news and the media. And I said, can you point me to an example of an existential problem? That's their word, existential threat, right? Of an existential problem that was raised that then the media reported on the solving of?
We got
Right.
Because that's not how things work.
$5 super chat from Jose Quintana. Hi, Brett, Mary, and Libby. Long live PCC. I have 10 different selves and love each of them. Oh, wait, down to 9. Okay, stay safe out there.
I like the meme. It's like inside you there are 3 wolves. One of them is gay. So are the other 2. You're gay. But the point being that problems don't get solved in a way that they would actually be comfortable with the answer that has any sort of end goal anyways, because we know that that's not the point. The point is that news, Hollywood, and government work quasi hand in hand to continue the narrative that things are going wrong in a certain direction, because it allows NGOs to grow. It allows you to donate money and feel less guilty about your life because you're giving money to a cause that will supposedly care about the future generations that you don't even think people should be having anyways.
Meanwhile, not-for-profits, as we know, the majority of not-for-profits hardly spend any of the money that they bring in on actually dealing with the thing that they are purportedly founded to deal with. Most of them spend all their money on
trips,
salaries and stuff.
Salaries and
look at the
marketing.
Susan G. Komen Race for the Cure. It was like 95% of what they brought in was on raising awareness,
And the rest of it was on the
salaries,
ribbons.
and
Like-
that was it.
I remember when you had that hilarious conversation with Lisa about breast cancer awareness?
Yeah.
Like, she said that her son was expected to wear pink at a game, some sports game.
And she's like, I'm not.
For Breast Cancer Awareness Day or something, and she was just like, "What is this stupid bullshit? We need to be aware of breast cancer. Like, why?
Just all by itself, just aware of it. There is breast cancer. Now
Yes.
we're done.
We've
Job
accomplished
done.
something
Yes,
very meaningful
exactly.
today by wearing pink."
I mean, another good example of it would be the amount of money that was dumped into Me Too charities and causes after.
What did they ever
2017.
do? Where'd
no,
they go?
There was extensive reporting
The Time's
done
Up, right?
that
Time's
they
Up.
went on exotic vacations
Yeah.
where they had meetings in expensive hotel rooms.
They're all a bunch of grifters. Now, speaking of
That might be an actual use of the word.
Yeah.
Like that might be an
Yes,
actual
yes,
real
they
use of
are
the word.
grifting.
That is a word that's thrown around a
Yeah.
lot these days. But that's one that, you know, if you can't even tell me, like, I always make this argument. I understand that it's kind of it's a bit tongue in cheek, but it's like I would rather give $5 to the homeless guy on the street than to any charity before I know where that money actually goes. And even then, I'd probably rather give it to the homeless
you
guy.
were trying to explain your rationale.
I don't have a
for
rationale.
it.
My rationale is that better I give it to the guy on the street. I don't care what he uses it on. Because I'm not giving money to charity anyway. The biggest example would be like talking about when they ask you to round up to the dollar, like at a store. They're like, do you want to round up to donate it to charity? My favorite is when they don't even tell you the charity. They just say round up to donate it to charity. Like
We have to call it something.
for all I know, it's just the company has a company called Charity.
Wait, you
Right?
you
Or
don't want to
it's just
donate.
an employee called charity.
Yes.
You
I-
don't
Or
want
it's
to
actually the owner's
donate
girlfriend.
34 cents to starving children.
I give-
what kind of monster
I
are you?
just gave I just gave money to like $25 today because a skate shop that I buy stuff from had a fire. Okay,
that seems like
I
a
give
cause
money
to care about.
to GoFundMe's and stuff like, or give send goes all the time because it's towards somebody that I know and I can make the value judgment that this is a person that I would like to give my money to. But I'm not going to give money to a charity that gives 3% of it back to their actual cause.
Have you ever donated to a political campaign?
No.
Have you?
I did
That
buy
would go
a
against-
T-shirt once, but that's it. And that was
Okay.
way before I was doing this kind of work.
Yeah.
Now I won't donate to any political campaign. I won't sign any petitions, nothing. Like and I won't give to any charities because who knows what they really are. Look what happened to Kamala Harris when she promoted the Minnesota Bail Fund, and it bailed a guy out, and the guy killed somebody. No, I give money at my church, the end. That's it. That's all.
I mean, I bought a MAGA hat, and I haven't stopped getting harassed with emails and text messages since.
I
then.
get texts from Trump, and I've never given dude a cent.
Yeah, you'll never escape it.
It's like that story last week about Google admitted to listening to your phone so that they can give you targeted ads.
Right.
I'm picturing Donald Trump on a ham radio listening to conversations.
He's intensely interested. Now, speaking of existential crises.
Yes.
Yesterday, John Bon Jovi literally talked a woman off the ledge.
Remember, this is not John Bon Jovi. It's Millie Bobby Brown's husband's dad.
It's her father-in-law. Millie Bobby Brown's father-in-law literally convinced a woman not to kill herself yesterday. She was on the verge of jumping off of a bridge in Nashville, and he was in the middle of recording a music video at the same location. He came across her and had to talk her off of the ledge. She was over the railing.
Here's the last 27 seconds of this, and they got a zoomed in shot here so you can see it actually happen. He's literally singing Living on a Prayer right now, I guarantee you.
Do you think he was? That's what they captioned it. Can you imagine, though? That's a sweet moment.
I feel like John Bon Jovi's a good guy. He had that restaurant in New Jersey where it was pay what you wish for homeless people.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Because he's got enough money to subsidize something like that.
Yeah, but some people would come and pay, and then some people would come and not pay. And
Those
it was sort of like
businesses-
a sliding scale.
Those businesses traditionally fail within. I mean, most.
I don't think it
most
did well, but
restaurants
he
fail in a year.
tried. He doesn't seem like a terrible guy.
Sources tell TMZ that Bon Jovi routinely deals with people in crisis from hunger to homelessness, among other issues, through his work with his foundation. He has extensive training in speaking with individuals experiencing a crisis, but he did what anyone would have done in that situation.
It's your life. He starts singing his other songs to her. It'd be great.
That's crazy.
Rather than "It's my life," he starts singing "It's your life." It's now or never.
It looks like the bridge is not that high up, but maybe I'm underestimating it.
Well, that's the worst, right?
Don't make the mistake of actually jumping.
Is this episode of The Mentalist where this crazy lady is on top of a bridge and Jane has a megaphone and he goes, "If you're gonna jump, jump out. If you just fall, you're probably just gonna break your legs.
Words of advice.
Jump out. Don't do that. You don't want to do that, guys.
Well, that's sweet. That's a wholesome story.
I was just rewatching. I just restarted. There's a 2007 documentary called The Bridge. It was about how the Golden Gate Bridge became a suicide tourist spot.
Yeah.
Prior to them putting the nets up there. And they got a lot of backlash because they set up cameras long term that showed these events actually happening. Now they don't show that in the. Like it's scary. Like, and they would talk about how people would feel drawn to the Golden Gate Bridge to then come there just to end their own lives.
But were there situations, like, I'm trying to understand it, because if they actually saw someone in real time and didn't do something to stop it, then I would think that was wrong of them. But if they were just setting up the cameras to film while they weren't watching,
no,
footage,
it was left up long
that's
term.
different.
It was it was not done with the expressed idea of catching a specific person
Right.
doing this. But the point was to acknowledge how often this
Yeah.
happens there.
Yeah.
I mean, I think New York City is like ground zero for suicides in a lot of ways.
Well,
Like
people,
globally?
people
Because
will
of
jump
the
off the
high buildings.
Yeah, and but people will jump off the bridges.
Yeah.
You know, the Brooklyn Bridge, Manhattan Bridge.
I remember there was a storyline in some show where a guy talked about how locals commit suicide in their apartments and tourists commit suicide outside because they jump off stuff, whereas the locals don't do that.
Well, the locals who are, looking to commit suicide also are having trouble probably with digesting the city itself.
Yeah.
But there's the library at NYU, Bopst, the floor was designed by M.C. Escher.
Okay.
And it apparently is so mesmerizing, and it's open in the center of the library. It goes straight up. It's like a big atrium, and the walkways are all around, like catwalks where
Yeah.
you can access the books and things.
looks like
And people were always jumping and killing themselves by jumping onto that floor. So they redid the railings to be all like crosses,
So that they can't.
to try and prevent people just psychologically
From
from
doing it.
jumping.
oh, I
Okay.
see.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of suicide at NYU. I remember my first year in college, two of my good friends were at NYU, and on I think it was 2 occasions in the fall term, people jumped into the courtyard of their building and killed themselves.
Somebody in the chat said Tony Scott jumped off a bridge, didn't he? I believe so. Ridley Scott's brother.
A lot of people were talking about NYU because Barron Trump is attending there now. And they were saying that by the time he graduates, he's going to become like a raging liberal and go totally against his dad and everything. But I was like confused by that because I thought it was just like a super high-end school for privileged kids.
NYU?
Yeah.
Yeah, like
It
by
is that.
far. It's not like weed smoking.
No, but it
like,
is super. I mean, the way that Barron Trump would get
dreadlocks.
super indoctrinated and liberal at NYU would be from the professors, not from the students.
Yeah, not from his like liberal GF.
But
I
he's,
do love
but
the
he's also
idea
at
that he-
Stern Business School, so it's probably very lefty there too, but slightly less very lefty than at the other.
Yeah. Well, to shift from that wholesome story to something far less wholesome, Casey Anthony is in the news again, surprisingly, because she is in a new relationship. New York Post reported infamous tot mom Casey Anthony is dating a dad of 2, and she blew up his 20-year marriage to get with him, quote, living the life I want. She
That doesn't sound like somebody who's thinking about the future. That sounds like somebody who's living in the moment.
obviously
Sure
she
does.
is infamous for allegedly murdering her own daughter. What was that, over 10, 15 years ago?
Yeah,
At
but
this
could you
point-
imagine being like the mom of the children of
know.
this dad, being like, "Why do you have a psychotic murderer hanging out with our children?"
Yeah, it's horrifying.
I would want that to come to an end.
So Anthony, 38, has been dating 48-year-old Tyson Ray Rhodes since January this year. They met at the gym, so he wasn't like doing some weird criminal pen pal thing. But can you imagine like meeting her and then finding out later, and he's just like, "Oh, okay, I'll take
don't
what I
know,
can
man.
get."
We watched Beetlejuice, where where he was preying on. Was it Lydia at the grief counseling seminar? Maybe he just went to the gym because he knew she was there.
Yeah, this says the man has 2 sons who are both young adults.
I'm sure that is a fantastically fun discussion to have with your kids.
One of the friends of Casey Anthony tells New York Post she doesn't care if he's married or not. That's his business. All she knows is that he makes her feel good, and she likes that. She was willing to follow him to Tennessee. She sees a future with him.
Wait, so was this guy and the wife still together when this happened, or were they separated?
No, he's not divorced. He's currently married.
That's an almost impressive level of no shame.
The friend
That's
said
almost worse than the whole Willie Brown Kamala Harris thing.
Yeah, the friend said, I was like, Casey, really a married guy? And she just laughed and said, oh, shut up. I'm living the life I want. He's been married for 22 years.
Good gravy. That is mean.
She's like, he's been married for 22 years. It's not like I broke up a new marriage. That's what she's saying.
So he dropped the news on the mother of his children, saying he wanted a divorce. He has yet to file the paperwork, but the mother of his children was blindsided by the news. That's absolutely horrifying.
That is horrifying. She's clearly psychotic. I mean, it's just rude she's more than rude to break up somebody's marriage of 22 years.
I mean, yeah, of course, for anyone to do that, but also an alleged murderer.
He's hitting her with I just need a little bit more time to tell my wife. Just a little bit more time.
They were all smiles as they dined with two other couples. An onlooker said they were holding hands and kissing, and he even touched her butt. She got up to order a drink, and they noticed that people were staring. She's recognizable at this point. And he said to her, bring that innocent ass over here. He didn't care. Does this guy genuinely believe she's innocent?
He's 38, so is that what you said? So he's going through
he's 48, she's 38.
Okay, he's 48. So he's going through a late midlife crisis?
This is insane.
He's going through a midlife crisis.
This is beyond midlife crisis, though. This is just straight up sociopathy.
He's going through midlife crisis, and it's his wife's fault because she made him watch true crime for the last 10 years and got him hooked. And he's like, I need to experience it for real.
Ugh. A family member told the New York Post that he saw an intoxicating aura in her. That's terrifying. This woman is just straight up crazy. But all of these people are posting about it like it's a big joke.
I mean, I can't help but be morbidly humorous about it. I'm sorry. I can't. I can't bring myself to actually take it seriously in a way because it's a very serious crime, which she obviously was on trial for. But this is so unserious that I can't take it seriously. All I can do is dark humor. Sorry, best I can do is dark humor.
Yeah. In case any of you forgot, during the search for her missing child, she was spending the entire month dancing on tables in bars and partying with her friends, getting a tattoo, and they found out that her child was in the trunk of her car.
The whole time.
The whole time. So
yeah,
that doesn't look good, but somehow she got acquitted. I don't know.
We've got some good comments in the chat here. Sean said, the Drum Knight says post-nut clarity off the charts. And my personal favorite, says Harassed didn't kill anyone.
Really though? Really? Do we really believe that?
Well, he used the peach emoji, so I think he means the actual ass didn't kill anyone.
I thought that it was women who tended to have hybristophilia.
Well, that's what I'm saying here. What happened was his wife probably made him watch a decade's worth of true crime since they've been married, and he got really into it.
Yeah, when they watched a documentary about Casey Anthony, he just, she caught his eye.
I don't like true crime stuff.
I don't either.
Doesn't interest me.
I don't really.
I am going to watch this new.
I don't like hearing about people hurting each other.
They're making a. Also, I tend to find the stories that are told through Hollywood. At least they used to be more interesting to me. I understand that, in a lot of ways, the real world is a lot more interesting or a lot stranger than fiction could ever be, but I tend to like the more poetic nature of actual storytelling rather than just a story that's depressing because of how crazy it is.
Right, and just how brutal people can be to each other. Yeah, I don't want any piece of that.
All right, let's move on then, shall we? Now that we've got the depressing stuff out of the way, this story is just funny.
Yeah, Pharrell is doing press for his new Lego biopic movie right now. And something happened where he had to address a song he wrote for Britney Spears. Pharrell has written a lot of huge hit songs for pop stars, but he himself is not as well known as his songs. He wrote "I'm a Slave for You" for Britney back in, what was that, 2002?
Gosh, it's a long time ago, yeah.
Yeah. And now he says he regrets that because the use of the word slave in a pop song is offensive and problematic.
We are cooked as a society.
Yeah.
We are absolutely cooked as a society. Like a year ago, me and Mary talked about this story where there was a band called the Slaves that changed their name.
Yeah. That's even
Well,
worse.
the
They weren't even
Dixie
the
Chicks
Slaves, it was
changed
just
their
slaves,
names
yes.
too, remember?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
What did they change their name to?
I don't even. That's the point. It was
The
so
indentured servants.
Yes, that's what they should have become. Yeah.
Yeah.
So in an interview with
They
the
should've been-
Hollywood
they should've renamed
Reporter,
themselves The
Pharrell
Freed.
said,
Right.
that's not a word to play with these days. And there's many different angles, right?
But it
obviously
was when we were closer to the time of enslavement in this country.
Now that more time has passed since
Right.
slavery, it's even more important. He said, obviously, what my people and my DNA and my ancestors had to endure and overcome. But then there's also all the atrocity that happens in human trafficking every day. So, no, that's not something I would say he regrets writing this song.
Well, then you should never make a movie that covers this stuff. You should never do anything. You should never talk about it at all. What? So the
Right,
idea
never
is
talk about it at
because
all.
because it's what analogous in a story in a song. It's what, if I remember correctly, is just she's really into the guy. Is that what it's about?
I don't remember.
The point being that you can't make movies that use this as a word ever anymore.
No.
you can't even say it.
No,
You know,
can't.
but you,
You have to
actually
say
can't
enslaved
even say it.
peoples,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. I remember the education I got on that back in the 90s. But the thing too is they changed this in terms of in like IT stuff too. Like
Yes.
slave and master, they got rid of that.
Oh, they were getting rid of master bedroom out of like catalogs for
they
homes.
weren't getting rid of it. It's gone.
Is it?
Yeah, they say the primary. This is
That's
the
so
primary. If you ever watch home reno shows, which I have occasionally done.
See, that's the thing, right? Is who is this for? This is not for rational people.
No.
It's not for normal people.
It's entirely virtue signaling.
He went even further, saying there are a lot of songs that as the era changes from one day to the next, what was contextually acceptable at one time is no longer acceptable. But I think that's for the better. There are a lot of songs where I wouldn't say half the things that I said before. As time changes, so does mentality, and hopefully it evolves to a better place. And it's not about being politically correct. It's about being universally aware. Whatever the hell that
Yeah,
means.
what does that mean?
Language, here's the thing. Language evolves and words in a lot of contexts have more than one meaning that she's using it in a colloquial term that's supposed to be descriptive of an emotional state. And if your fans are too stupid to understand that, you should not pander to the lowest common denominator of the people consuming your content. You should pander to the people who are smart enough to understand that you're making a artistic choice.
Yeah, and also, interestingly, this song was originally written for a black woman. It was written for Janet Jackson. So
Oh, why didn't Janet sing it?
this I don't know why exactly it went to Britney instead. It was a hand-me-down. But obviously no one in the early 2000s was thinking about things like this, about whether the word slave would offend people.
No.
No one performing it, no one writing it, no one marketing it ever their brains just didn't even go there.
Yeah.
But now as everyone is on watch constantly.
I don't even know if I buy that. I think that that's a terminally online take. I imagine that the average person who doesn't spend 10 hours a day doesn't think that heavily about it.
But then why would he bring it up? Did the Hollywood Reporter want him to like do a mea culpa for this?
Virtue signaling.
I don't understand. It's like when Will Smith played a slave in that movie. I forget what it was even called. And he
one that
talked
came-
about how he had to wear like prop chains on his body in that movie, and it brought up his ancestral trauma.
I should have gone up to
Like-
Pharrell and been like, as a Slavic person where in which the word is derived, I take deep offense to this 2001 Britney Spears song. But mostly I take offense to the fact that you use the number 4 and the letter U in the song name.
He also
Well,
was
he
involved
was
in,
asked directly if he would use the same title for a song.
Remember
that
the blurred lines controversy too? That was even crazier.
What's that
Robin
one?
Thicke's song Blurred Lines.
yeah.
It was like the peak example that feminists used to argue the fact that, you know, we live in a rape culture. You haven't heard that term in a while.
No, you haven't, because Me Too has gone a little bit out of fashion.
Right, but Blurred Lines is about, like, I don't know if you want me or you don't, but I'm just gonna, like, make my move anyway.
Okay.
Like, that's what the point of the song was. And it
Yeah.
was like, that's not consensual. How dare you? Consent means enthusiastic, continuous, verbal yes. You can't have blurred lines. That's rape apology.
Consensual Lines just doesn't have the same ring to it.
Meanwhile,
Yeah.
all I can think of is that Duran Duran cover of White Lines.
How dare you ever suggest that there is nuance in interpersonal interaction?
Oh,
That's
there's just
insane.
not.
mean,
I think Me Too went out for a couple of reasons, but one of which is the newfound derision for white women's tears. You know, that was definitely a white
Oh,
women's
yeah.
feminist movement.
Oh, yes.
And now if you're white, you're supposed to pay thousands of dollars to be told that you suck.
they mentioned they did mention renaming Slave One from Star Wars.
That is
Yeah.
trash.
Wow.
That is a trash idea.
It's hilarious. It is a terminally online take, and it's something that only exists to a person who spends so much time debating this type of like language rather than the actual context of what's going on. It would be funnier to have them debate what's going on in the actual song,
Well,
right?
one of these terminally online activists actually showed up at one of Pharrell Williams' press events to protest his use of fur in his clothing line. It was a PETA
Really?
protester, and he actually had a shocking reaction.
Here we go. Let's watch this clip.
She hops up on
she
stage.
sounds exactly like what you imagine just like a scared 20-something protester would sound like.
I can't get a good look at her. I don't know.
You know what? You're right. You're right. You're right. You're right.
I'm trying to
You're right.
stop supporting killing animals for fashion.
Yeah.
You're
It's
right.
very.
Pharrell. Yes, you're right. God bless you. God bless you. God bless you. It's okay.
We should, you know what we should do? We should send this lady to Springfield.
That's what they should be protesting.
We should send her to
Everybody
Springfield.
give her a round of applause, please. Yes, I have. You're right. God bless you. God bless you. Everybody say it. God bless you. Okay.
He's got major dad jeans and like he's wearing like New Balances. I kind of.
Yeah. God bless you. God bless you.
This is basically his version of point and laugh.
Yeah.
I love you too. You know what? Let me address that. You know, Rome wasn't made in a day. And sometimes when you have plans to change things in situations, you have to get in a position of power and of influence where you can change people's minds and help progression. It's not necessarily the way to do it.
So he said Rome wasn't
Never
made
mind.
in a day.
Holy crap, he's wearing bell bottoms. That's even worse.
He said Rome wasn't made in a day, but Rome was made by enslaved people in many cases.
Ooh.
How is he even talking about Rome as
How
something
dare
that should
he.
be built at all?
Got him.
Canceled.
Done.
Ridiculous.
You're done,
done.
Pharrell. We're not watching your movie. We're boycotting your Lego movie.
I'm not watching your Lego biopic.
Is it biopic or biopic?
I
think
never
it's
say
biopic.
I never
Is
say
it?
biopic.
I
It
don't
sounds too
know.
much like myopic to me.
It all sounds weird.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And let's face it, all of this was done on phones that have parts that were created with slave labor in other countries. Just you get to pick your outrage and go from there.
Well, she wasn't protesting slave labor in his clothing line. Only the
No,
fact
I'm saying,
that he
but-
sells fur.
Him likely gave an interview made on a camera, filmed on a camera, and put out on phones that has slave labor done there. It's not like it's over and done with. And having a song that uses the word slave in it is not changing anything.
Someone commented he really tried to gentle parent her. He was gentle parenting the activist because, you know, she was acting like a toddler.
She was.
there is no correct way to react to that.
Nope. All
But
right.
he did try to placate her.
All right. What would you like to see? Cringe or cute of the day?
Up to you, Libby. You
Cute.
decide.
Cute first?
Cute.
All right, we'll do cute first.
Okay.
First.
So that PETA doesn't protest
Yes.
us.
Yeah.
Well, here we go. First things first. This one's from Devin. Says, here you go. Not actually my pets, just zoo animals.
Oh,
So cute.
those are cute. What are
Yes.
those, puffins?
It's
I
very
think.
cute.
Those look like puffins.
Oh,
They're kissing.
Yeah.
That's cute.
very cute.
Cute puffins.
Let's do one more. This one is from Layla. It says, this is Rocky, the orphaned squirrel. He's my 4th orphaned baby I've
Whoa.
taken in, and by far the weirdest. He had an injury to his foot, but is healing fast and will be on his way in weeks. Also a photo of Peanut the cat looking majestic. So there's the squirrel.
You foster squirrels?
Hungry? Oh, yes.
Wait, it's so cute.
Oh, he is cute. Yeah.
Aw.
Feed me. He's like, don't send me to Springfield, whatever you do.
Please.
There was a squirrel on my porch, and it apparently has a root from like running and stealing stuff from the chickens that live next door, and then running across my porch and like going and hiding whatever he stole from the chickens somewhere else.
Menace.
And I sit on my porch in the morning and like drink my tea and, you know, read or whatever and do my work. And the squirrel, but I'm not always there. So the squirrel saw me and he just stopped and he was like, I don't know what to do. Do I keep running? Do I keep
Gotta
running
keep
across
running.
the porch?
Yep.
And then he kind of looked, I started talking to him, you know, because why not?
where
and he
on-
did like run around me, gave me as much distance as the porch
He's
allows.
very respectful.
Yeah.
Well, he doesn't want to tie you up in his crimes.
Yeah, you know, he was looking for the continuous consent, I suppose.
Peanut is also cute.
Peanut is very, very adorable.
cute cat.
Love Peanut.
All right, let's go ahead and do cringe of the day as well. I have not watched this one yet. It says absolutely mogged at the bookstore.
Yeah.
Sneak stuff in like a Trojan horse.
Here's the gay loser pride section.
That was mean. Those ladies weren't doing anything.
They're just trying to mind their business
Those
and
ladies were just minding their business.
find some lesbian books.
Come on.
And they got absolutely mogged. Like, what was
That
the
is
game
really
plan?
funny.
What was the game
What
plan
if he
going
just
in?
come in and like put a girl on?
Like, that's what we're doing.
Okay, all right. Let's go ahead and get started then, shall we?
All right. Since Taylor Swift's endorsement of Kamala Harris, a bunch of other celebrities have rushed to give their endorsement as well. And interestingly, Taylor Swift's post endorsing Kamala led directly to over 337,000 people visiting her link to vote.gov to register. We don't know exactly how many actually did register, but the traffic is insane. And it is impressive, and it should tell you celebrity endorsements, especially this one, they are impactful. It's not, you know, for good reasons, but they do impact people's decisions. Now, Aubrey Plaza has followed suit, joining the ranks of the childless cat ladies. She posted a picture of herself with her cat.
Stevie Nicks, I think we all knew that was coming.
Yeah, Stevie Nicks posted a picture with her dog, saying, as my friend Taylor Swift so eloquently stated, now is the time to research and choose the candidate that speaks to you and your beliefs. Only 54 days left until the election. Make sure you are registered to vote.
Wait, let me
Your vote
guess.
in this election may be one of the most important things you ever do.
There it was. I was going to say, let me guess. It's
Now
the
more
most
than ever,
important.
you guys. Now
it's the
more than
most
ever.
important election of all time.
Calls herself Stevie Nicks childless dog lady in that caption.
Well, she's childless because she had an abortion and she never got pregnant again after that.
Right.
Or perhaps she
They
had
can't-
more abortions.
Well, abortion was kind of the focal point issue in Taylor Swift's caption.
This is where my ability to compartmentalize celebrities' stupid sayings with their work helps, because they can never make me hate Aubrey Plaza. You just can't. I'm sorry.
Really?
I can't hate Aubrey Plaza.
I don't know who that is. Who is that?
She's just
was
an
in
actor.
Parks and Rec,
Yeah,
right?
I just can't. I can't hate Aubrey
Oh wait,
Plaza.
is that the one who was like really sardonic?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, she's funny.
I can't hate Aubrey Plaza. I
She's
can't.
with the grumpy cat in that
Yeah.
photo.
Look, even the photo is funny.
Does this
The cat looks so grumpy.
Do you think this convinced anyone to vote for Kamala?
Oh, that is a great cat.
It is a great
Come
cat.
on.
It's not our cute of the day, though. Katy
Well,
Perry
you know what's
also
definitely
made a
not
showing.
the cute of the day? Definitely not the cute of the day is Stevie Nicks' dog.
No.
Oh no, her dog is unsightly. Katy Perry also made a showing wearing the iconic camo hat from the Kamala campaign. They're trying to commandeer the aesthetics of the South with that, and she
Yeah,
showed her
that's-
support for the
That's a big
campaign
one here.
as well. That was before the VMAs, I believe.
Yeah.
You know what?
I think
You know what?
so.
All this shows me is like she probably wears Carhartt too.
But it's weird because she voted for Rick Caruso in California, a Republican.
Yep.
So people were confused about her political stances, and now she's made her stance very clear.
I think if it was a female, well, who was the other candidate in California when she was running, or when she was?
I don't remember the other candidate's name.
I was like, maybe she just votes on gendered lines when it's available, but I think it might have been a woman.
No,
it was a woman.
It was a male.
No, that he was running against.
Oh, I don't know. But
it's
yeah,
like-
she voted Rick Caruso, so a lot of people were mad at her for that. In fact, she posted a selfie from the voting booth, which I think is illegal. But
Yeah, you're not supposed to do that.
yeah, no one stopped her. But on the other hand, it's interesting to see the gender stratification here, both among normies and celebrities. The political pressure against celebrities to make endorsements right now is absolutely insane, and it seems like only the male celebrities are resisting it effectively. Patrick Mahomes was asked about his endorsement, and he has repeatedly refused to endorse anyone and said that it's not his place. He's not interested in it.
He probably likes Trump.
Of course, yeah, given that his wife is outspokenly pro-Trump, you would assume
And she's
so.
also pro RFK Jr. She was posting about, Make America Healthy Again the other day, which I think is a really, that's one thing I really respect about RFK's whole thing is the food that we end up with at our grocery stores is disgusting.
This
in a
is
lot of
such
cases.
a
So,
memeable picture.
The
right here.
non-fresh stuff. Which one?
He looks
It's the meme of the guy with his hands on his hips at the basketball game in the vest.
Yeah.
That's this. It's like me when somebody tells me who I need to vote for.
his smile and optimism gone.
But you also see so much in the polls that men are flocking towards Trump. So you see that in a lot of cases too, which may be why you're not seeing a lot of celebs do that, because we hear from celebs all the time that like they don't feel comfortable saying that they support Trump or conservatives in
Right.
Hollywood. There's whole secret societies in Hollywood of performers and entertainers who secretly are Republican and won't say it up front, and they have like these backroom dinners. You know
the
what I
ones
mean?
who shoot at Terran Tactical.
Yeah, they have that.
They have
it in
their
New York,
hangouts.
too.
It's really funny. I've been watching this old reality, the only reality TV show I've ever watched. It's called Top Shot. It's like it's a reality show about marksmanship. And and the dude from Terran Tactile's in the show, like as like a guest.
Yeah. It's like an
not a
iconic-
competitor, but he's like one of the people who helps with certain challenges that they do.
Right. Clay Travis posted this clip of Patrick Mahomes saying he doesn't believe in endorsing political candidates, gets along with everyone regardless of their opinions. Good for him. This is Michael Jordan era politics.
Yeah, Republicans
respect
buy
that.
sneakers too.
So let's take a look at that statement that he gave.
Family again today on Fox
It's
News
not on the
Relations.
screen.
And I just wonder what your reaction is to seeing that.
Yeah, I think I've always said I don't want my place and my platform to be used to endorse a candidate or do whatever. Either way, I think my place is to inform people to get registered to vote. It's to inform people to do their own research and then make their best decision for them and their family. And so I think that's every time I'm on this stage and I get asked these questions, I'm gonna refer back to that because I think that's what makes America so great.
I think it was
Like if I was like, I almost say that that doesn't even need to be your place. Your place is to like do your job, and if people ask the question, be like, no comment. Like you don't even have to say that. Right?
Yeah.
Like you don't even have to make the whole, because we had the whole conversation the other day about how it's like when celebrities tell you to register to vote, it tends to mean exactly one thing, and we all
Yeah.
know that means vote blue no matter what. I would say like it's not even your job to do that. Otherwise, you're just two sentences away from talking about our democracy, and I just want to roll my eyes and throw up.
And they pressed him further.
but when you were at the U.S. Open this past weekend and you guys were there with Taylor and Travis, I mean, is that an important image to show that, people who may have different philosophies can...
Yeah, I mean, I think I've always, even dating back, I think if you've seen my history, I've grown up with people from every every aspect of life, in every background. And I think the best thing about a football locker room and kind of how I've grown up in baseball locker rooms, everything about that is people can come together and achieve something and achieve a common goal. And I think if we can, I mean, we talked about it a while back, but I think if we can do that as a nation, I think we can get the best out of each other. And so I think that's something that I do every single day. And whenever I'm hanging out with whoever, I'm not thinking about their political views or anything like that. I'm thinking about the people and how they treat other people. And I was with a lot of great people this weekend.
So there were some interesting comments going around when they were talking about this part of it, where people were saying that who you vote for does indicate how you treat other people. What they're missing is he's talking about how you treat other people in the physical world right in front of you, not what your voting says about how you feel about people you'll never meet. Right? And he's right in that it's funny that women are the ones who tend to talk about or who believe in consensus building and teamwork and working together, but males, professional male athletes have to do that every day as a matter of course. And there's a goal at the end of the year beyond just saving our democracy, which is an innocuous term that doesn't mean anything.
No,
they have a set goal that they want to achieve every year. In his case, it's win the Super Bowl. For a baseball player, it's to win the World Series. And that is very different. And it does force you to actually put certain differences aside to be able to work with people. That isn't always easy. There's a reason why they talk about how athletes who have behavioral problems, who even if they're as good, even if they're better than everybody else at the game, can poison the locker room and cause problems, right? So that's actual consensus building around a common goal, not we all have to agree on the same thing and fall in line.
Just guys being dudes. What's better than this? And also, Usher was on The View recently and had Joy Behar hounding him to make a political endorsement on air. He refused to do so as well.
Here we go.
I think that that in this emergency that we're in, I think that behooves artists to come out and speak for Kamala against Donald Trump, because he is an existential threat to the country. What do you say to that?
You know what? I don't get too deep into politics. I didn't get a chance to watch the debate last night. I obviously have been watching like everybody else. I think voting is an individual choice. And I think that you're right. You have to look at the reality of the country that we are and the country that we want to be, and find the candidate that you feel both are who fits the category of where we want to be. And that's it. And that's what you vote based off of. Who you highlight and how you choose to highlight it on whatever platform you have is your prerogative.
Yes.
Yeah. That look at the end where they were waiting for him to say more.
Yeah, they're like, so Kamala, right?
So
I mean,
that
they
means we're
wanted
voting
him
for
to
Kamala,
say, like,
right?
that being said, I choose my vote for,
Yeah. But, bravo. Don't give them what they want.
The Rock did this a couple months ago, where he said, he's like, I endorsed Biden last time. I'm not going to do that this time. Like, it's between you and the ballot box.
Mark Zuckerberg said he wasn't going to be raising money for Democrats.
Yep.
I think one thing, too, is...
Well, the damage is done there, Mark.
Yeah. I think for a lot of people who are... I think it might be possible that even if they're not pro-Trump, they see what kind of damage the Democrats have done over the past few years, both with the lies that they've been telling, which have been substantially monstrous. Even on the debate stage the other night, there were a lot of lies being told by Kamala Harris. There was absolutely no fact checking done of that. Things that Trump said that were true were fact checked, so that was obviously ridiculous. So I think that you could be a celebrity who's not in favor of Trump, but also be incredibly disillusioned with the Democrat Party.
I think for most of it, I think because of the field we work in, we take for granted how much information we consume on these topics. And for the average celebrity, it's more that to be uninformed and say that you're going to vote for Kamala or for Biden in 2020 or Hillary in 2016 was more advantageous to your career than doing so would be now.
And now it isn't.
Now it isn't. So pleading ignorance and saying, and you've got a great out, you say, you do what people have been saying for decades before recently, which is that, it's between you and the ballot box, and figure it out for yourself, make the choice for what's right for you and your family. What I would have liked one of them to say is like, look, as a celebrity, I am extremely wealthy. I have a lot of, I have a lot of resources. The things that I would vote for fundamentally may look different than the things that someone in a flyover state would choose to vote for. There was a funny post that somebody made that said it's the picture of the guy sweating as he's going to hit the button, and it's like, does Taylor Swift vote for endorse Trump and lose 20% of her money now, or does she vote for Kamala and lose a bunch of money in unrealized gains down the line? Either way, you lose.
I don't think she would have actually taken that big of a hit for supporting Trump.
You don't think
that's my unpopular
opinion? You don't think
opinion.
that Taylor Swift would have?
In the court of public opinion, yes. Yeah. I don't think she would actually lose that much money.
Well, plus there's a third option.
I think she'd be fine with her fans. I don't think her fans would mind at all.
I
think a lot of her fans would be mad, but they wouldn't stop streaming
I don't think they would
music.
necessarily stop listening to her music.
They would still buy her concert tickets and her merch. Eventually, everyone just forgets their outrage.
Well, also,
I don't think she would have actually taken that big of a hit.
That meme has the unanswered third option, which is just to not endorse anyone at all.
Which is
right, but
I was getting excited at the possibility that she wouldn't endorse anyone, and if Biden hadn't dropped out, I believe that's what she would have done.
Yes, I do think she would have taken a hit. I think she would have taken a really big hit with her music. I do. I
guess we'll never know.
I mean, I did this little report. I talked to a bunch of Swifties for Trump.
Yeah.
Oh.
And they were really interesting. And they were like, listen, and some of them said, on the one hand, we know her politics. We're not interested in her politics. We like her music, and we're perfectly capable of making our own decisions.
Mm-hmm.
And other ones were like, it took me a long time to come around when I realized what her politics were and like that. But they all were perfectly happy to listen to her music, even if they thought that she didn't agree with them.
Yeah.
Yeah, but she's built a fan base that's got a lot to do with diehards and lore and deep knowledge of her and her beliefs that I think she would lose a lot of.
And not just her
support on.
beliefs, but like they have a belief in her interior life. Like they're very dedicated to Taylor Swift the person.
Yeah, and that's what they were saying. And they were saying that for years she's had this whole like, why hasn't this happened for me? I'd like to be a mother and have a family. They were pointing out all of these contradictions between what they perceive to be her personal views and her political perspective.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do think. I mean, we'll never know. Like,
we'll never know, and I do believe she is sincere in her political views. I don't think she's just saying it for clout. She is genuinely ideologically left wing, but you can't deny that. First of all, it does benefit her specifically to voice that at the exact moment it's going to trend the most.
So what she does is she says all this, and then she goes, just don't actually do that unrealized gains thing, huh? Or give me time to move that money offshore.
It does seem coordinated when you look at the timing. I don't know. I can't say for sure, but it looks coordinated where, Kamala's disappointing performance in the debate doesn't matter so much if the news cycle gets taken over by Taylor Swift's endorsement within hours.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
nobody's
Kamala
talking
Harris
about her.
Was so miserable at that debate, how she just couldn't answer any question, and she was so smug.
And doesn't have the excuse of being senile.
No, it doesn't have any excuses at all, and doesn't even have the excuse of like, I'm new to politics, because she's been in the White House for 3.5 years.
Also, I do encourage everyone to separate the art from the artist. I don't care like how stupid someone's opinions are. If they made great art that you really, really like, that moved you, I urge you to not, deprive yourself of that just because they disagree with you, because all it is the unfortunate pitfalls of the modern age.
Phil Labonte is going to be streaming Taylor Swift.
He will, no matter what.
With not a care in the world.
All right.
Okay, let's read Super Chats. Shane H. Wilder said, Happy Thursday, Brett, Mary, and Libby. 10 more episodes or 14 more sleeps until episode 700. Still no play button, though.
Yeah. I've kind of just... I'm gonna just make... Can we just 3D print our own?
What are we going to do with that situation? I don't know.
I'm gonna 3D print my own play button.
Yeah, Andrew Jacobs said, Happy birthday, Miss Libby. Seeing as how Courtney Love was right about Dave Grohl posts are all the rage. What are y'all's thoughts on her band Hole? I don't have
thoughts. I used to listen to them, but they weren't as good as the other, Riot Girl stuff at the time. They just weren't as good. They weren't as good as anything Kathleen Hanna has ever done, who's actually really pretty great, even though, again, totally disagree with her politics. But I really like her music.
I got a question for you. How do you feel about Dave Grohl having that baby out of wedlock?
Who cares? Who cares?
There was a funny picture.
My dad had a baby out of wedlock. I met her when I was 17. She was 12. Like,
they were saying
whatever.
it's weird that he's making notes app posts about having a child with another woman.
Yeah.
And they were saying that like there was
making
interviews.
a public statement like that is kind of weird.
Well, it's like, yeah, again, if we're grading on a sliding scale, he at least acknowledged the baby exists and he didn't just ignore it. And
he's better
just
than Hunter
abandoned
Biden.
it.
You know, and his wife is all upset, and you'd be all upset. But like, what? Who did she think she was marrying?
That's a good point too.
It's like,
fair enough. Shane H. Wilder said, "What is a band hole? That sounds inappropriate."
Oh, it was Courtney Love's band, and they were like they were sort of like touted as the girl Nirvana, which of course they weren't, because Courtney Love is not Kurt Cobain. They were a very mediocre Riot Girl, sort of punkish grunge act.
Yeah. I never listened to them.
They weren't good, so there's no reason to listen to them. Even if you like that kind of music, everything else was better. Bratmobile was better. You know, Bikini Kill was better, and I didn't even like Bikini Kill very much.
Yeah,
they were still better than
Bikini Kill is
Hole.
like one of the more famous ones.
Yeah,
that, like everybody's heard of.
Bratmobile was one of my favorites.
If you watched a movie in the 90s where a character they have like a punk daughter, there's a Bikini Kill poster in the background, or a grunge daughter. I did yesterday rewatch the music video for "Smells Like Nirvana," the Weird Al parody of "Smells Like Teen Spirit," and it's one of the greatest things ever because he talks about how he talked to Kurt Cobain about making the song, and he's like, why was it made? Like, Kurt loved it. He said, because nobody can understand what you're saying, which is why the whole song just sounds like he's gargling. And he actually got people from the original music video to be in the parody music video.
Oh, wow.
It's awesome.
It was a different time.
Yeah.
Babes in Toyland was great. They were one of my absolute favorites.
Potatoes for Seamus said, "Protect Mocha at all cost." Hi, Shane H. Wilder.
Mocha's fine, okay? Mocha's fine.
Protected from Brett? Shane H. Wilder said, "Whoa, potatoes, don't bring me into this Mocha controversy. I'm just a humble Catholic agent of chaos. I only support Mocha when it suits chaos." It usually does.
What's Mocha?
Mocha is a cat
that Brett hates.
We taled about this. Oh, yes.
I don't hate. I'm ambivalent.
It's all coming back to me now.
I'm ambivalent about the cat.
High Voltage 75 said, "Mocha special guest on PCC episode 700. Let's go."
I thought about dropping Mocha off in Ohio last night, but it's just a long drive. I can't do that.
That's dark. Last time we tried to have a cat on the show, it didn't go so well because the money guns
scared the crap out of him.
Yeah.
Oh, I could see that going very badly for everyone involved.
Didn't go according to plan. The ninja from Pop Culture Planet said, "Good morning, humans and Shane. Buenos dias, Libby."
Buenos dias.
And one more.
Shane H. Wilder said, "Et tu ninja, WTF, LOL."
Okay.
You guys are just all having your own little conversation here.
I kind of like it.
We're not even a part of it.
All right, maybe. All right, Mary, time to talk about this movie. You're the one who found the story.
Well, I think that Hollywood is unabashedly a death cult, and this new movie that recently premiered at film festivals is the ultimate proof of that. They widely celebrated it. It got a prize at the Venice Film Festival and had an 18-minute long standing ovation. The title is The Room Next Door, and it's starring Tilda Swinton. She plays a character who is suffering with terminal cancer, and she chooses to end her own life via euthanasia along with a companion by her side. It is being openly touted as a pro-euthanasia film, and it won the top prize at Venice Film Festival. It's also with Julianne Moore playing the friend in the movie.
Does Jack Kevorkian have some type of cameo?
I don't think so.
I'm guessing. I don't think Jack Kevorkian's still alive. But you get my point.
But the director, Pedro Almodovar, sorry if I brutally murdered that. He
euthanized it.
Yeah, I euthanized his name. He talked about the agenda behind this movie very openly. Accepting the award at Venice, he told the audience, quote, "I believe that saying goodbye to this world cleanly and with dignity is a fundamental right of every human being." The film sees Tilda Swinton play a war correspondent suffering from terminal cancer. She asks an old friend, played by Julianne Moore, to be at her side as she takes her own life. Almodovar said he made the film to communicate his belief that euthanasia should be available around the world. Quote, "It's not a political issue, but a human issue." He also thanked them for their performances. And he said, "It's a film about two women, and the two women are Julianne and Tilda." But it really just sounds like this is a movie about death and celebrating death and promoting death, without really a caveat there. And I think it says everything you need to know about the people there, that they psychotically stood up in rapturous applause for the message that people around the world deserve the right to suicide. And I think his use of the word clean is very interesting and says a lot about his attitudes toward life as well. That he sees death, or natural death, as an inherently messy, dirty, undignified thing. And when it's medicalized, it's clean and it's sterile and it's respectable.
There was
I think that's really a shame, because life is messy and dirty, you know, at its best. It always is those things. Birth is messy and dirty. Like, you could apply this same logic to birthing people from pods instead, or always doing a C-section because it's cleaner and it's more dignified, and no one's screaming and yelling. And as euthanasia continues to take hold in the West as this idea, and you can mix it with, or you can combine it with so many of the other anti-life things that we have going on, it really is an attempt to dehumanize humanity, to eliminate the human project of, you know, growth and transformation, into having everything just be, as you know, as you said, very clinical. And there are so many different methods of this, and it is part of the transhumanist project. And euthanasia is part of the transhumanist project of you know, literally eradicating what it means to be human. I read somewhere years ago, and I've never been able to find it since, but it's stuck in my head, that one of the roots of the word human is to bury, which kind of makes a lot of sense. You know, even if that's not true, it kind of makes sense. Like, we are additionally to being alive, we are that which we bury when we are, you know, finished on this earth. And I think that it's very sad that this is where we have landed, this idea that there could be life that is not worth living, because every life on this planet is an opportunity to experience God's grace, whether your life is, you know, 20 minutes, or whether your life is, you know, 100 years. You have this opportunity to be close to God, to love God, to experience God's love. And I think that that is far more important than making sure that you die cleanly. I don't think dying with dignity is necessarily even a reasonable thing, because as soon as you're dead, your dignity is gone. You poop your pants and your body releases everything, and it's a very disgusting process, whether you believe as you're going out that it's going to be clean or not. It won't be. Death is messy because life is messy.
Yeah.
It's also not to talk about the morality of it all, but to call it not political is disingenuous, because if the idea here is that you want it to be clean and dignified, that means you want it legalized. To make it legal involves government. To involve government makes it political. You're wrong.
Necessarily involves political interests from the government. And people have talked about the MAID program, you know, the fact that it benefits the government more than the citizenry, when they have nationalized healthcare in Canada and they save money by killing sick people. Like, this is inherently a political issue, and to sidestep that is very intellectually dishonest.
Think of like every time you go to the airport, right? And you have to go through the, you know, the scanners and whatnot, and they have to x-ray all your you know, your belongings, and you see the machines. It's Leidos, which is a company, right? Remember, Leidos is a private company. You had to get a government contract to do that. So it insinuates that private business is now involved because somebody has to make the death chambers.
Yeah. And we've seen prototypes for them.
Everyone loves it when big business and government come together to work on things. So I think his argument is a little bit disingenuous, but I also believe that if he's wrapped up in what he believes his morality is behind this, that perhaps his comment about it not being political is something he said offhand. Maybe disingenuous, maybe he just doesn't think about it that deeply. My guess is he's more concerned about the human element in this.
I think he's very concerned about giving the impression that he's deep and intellectual.
Correct.
And that's the entire point of films like this.
Didn't he write it? Didn't his wife pass or something? And this was like in part about that.
I don't know about his personal history. Is that related? I don't know.
Thought so, but I
feel like they would have
director. They might have mentioned it. Yeah, maybe I'm thinking of something else.
Yeah, but it's interesting that they wrote this character as well as a war correspondent because she is, you know, doing journalistic coverage of people dying in the most violent and brutal and perhaps, you know, quote unquote undignified ways. And in contrast, she decides to, you know, take the lethal injection or whatever so that she can save herself from that brutal, messy ending.
I will give the audience at the festivals the benefit of the doubt in that my interpretation would usually be not that they agree 110% with the sentiment of it, but they enjoyed being taken on the roller coaster that was the filmmaking, and whether they agree with the premise at the end. Again, I haven't seen the film. We haven't seen the film. We're not talking about
legendary.
We're not talking about the film itself. We're talking about the premise in which the film is based on, right? Is that what they're applauding is that this director took a very specific and serious subject matter and took them along for a ride that made them feel something, and that's what they're applauding. Not that necessarily they stood for 18 minutes and applauded death. Now that's just attempting to steel man the argument rather than to just assume that all of them say, yes, I would love it if everyone went and did that if they felt it so inclined to do so.
But I think that you can sidestep and ignore a lot of very obvious ethical and moral concerns about a certain issue by just saying the word nuance. Like there are so many gray areas, there's so much nuance, so we can't really make any absolute statements about the right or wrong of anything because everything is just so nuanced. And that's what I feel like is the reception of this movie.
I don't feel very nuanced about euthanasia. I think
neither do I.
Totally wrong.
But
you know, according to Catholicism, if you commit suicide which euthanasia is distinctly suicide, you can't go to heaven. So,
well, it's in a certain sense one of the most serious mortal sins because, you know, if successful, you have no chance to seek forgiveness and absolution for it. So that's why it's taken so deeply seriously. It's very grave. I mean, I don't know if this is like an ironic comment, but I saw it under the film's trailer on YouTube. This person said, apparently they got a 17-minute standing ovation at a film festival screening for this film, so it must be that good. And there were people actually agreeing with it, saying that the 17-minute standing ovation this film received must confirm that it is objectively a masterpiece.
It's become actually a running gag on all of Twitter, on all of film Twitter. All of these websites like discussing film and stuff like that, they list how long the standing ovations were for movies at film festivals as posts.
And it's so weird, right? Like, can you imagine being in the crowd and there's this weird pressure to stay standing and clapping until your hands are bleeding, and everyone's thinking about like,
just don't do it,
where they're gonna go after this, and they're just pretending to care.
If I actually want to stand, I will stand. But it is very rare that I wish to stand. And I will absolutely never give a standing ovation to a film.
Nothing deserves a 17-minute standing ovation.
Look, I mean, standing ovations are for...
That's mass hysteria.
I'll do this every time Top Gun Maverick
shows
finishes.
And concerts. You know?
If people clap after like a flight, I just roll my eyes into space.
I'm okay with it if it felt like we were all going to die.
That's
but
different.
Otherwise, you know,
never been in that
we're
situation.
Cheering life. You know, like, yeah, we did not crash.
But I'm looking at these other comments and they're all like, wow, the colors go so well together. The soundtrack, it's so aesthetically pleasing. And that's what I find so just like so sinister about the whole thing is that they put this very dark subject matter, which should be taken seriously, in this pretty packaging to deliver it to people and deliver a very clear agenda.
We have tonal issues.
Thank you.
On this podcast.
Wow, the Crisis Party colors are so pretty.
We're gonna have to wait because it's still gonna tell us to put a girl on.
Another person in the comments said, "This looks excruciatingly sad. I'm in."
Yeah, it reminds me of there's this play, I think it's Martian Norman, called Night Mother.
Night Bitch.
Night Mother.
Isn't it?
Night Mother?
I thought it was the Amy Adams movie.
Night Bitch is coming out. It's about a woman who turns into a dog.
Oh,
I'm talking about something totally different. Yeah, this play, and it's about a woman who she kills herself in the play, and it's just her and her mom on stage for the whole time in their house. And I've seen it a couple of times, and I've seen it performed a couple of different ways. And the last time I saw it, I think it was on Broadway. Anyway, years and years ago. But the character, the lead actress who was going to kill herself, took a completely different tack, which was she decided that since she had already decided she was going to kill herself, she was going to go through the play with joy, because she was like sort of euphoric about having made this decision. And that kind of reminds me of what the directorial approach was to this. I mean, Almodovar is an old guy. He may be thinking for himself that he's going to be interested in this at a certain point as well.
I mean,
he's very passionate about it.
That's
clearly.
a big part of filmmaking, right? It's like it's different to approach it from the moral perspective or talking about whether it should or shouldn't. But a lot of times, truly creative people look to explore a subject matter, and they understand that a lot of people aren't necessarily going to agree or disagree, or are necessarily going to agree with them. And I don't see anything wrong with that. I understand that what we're talking about here is that Hollywood as a whole has a tendency to want to push things that, you know, they kind of lean into our worst sensibilities in a lot of ways, but you find a lot of reality in the human experience by exploring things that are uncomfortable or that people are not always willing to agree with or disagree with. My issue here would be more with the idea of him talking about it being state sponsored, because that's what it goes back to for me. Like I'm a lot less interested in the moral argument as a human imperative, because everyone's going to have their opinion on that. I would feel more strongly about it being used as a means of saying, like, this is why it's good for government to get involved in something like this.
Yeah, I don't think government should do the death penalty, and I don't think that they should do suicides.
I don't
think that
I'm anti-death penalty, just on the strict principle that the government screws up so much. Why am I supposed to believe that they're going to get this right?
I think that's the biggest reason to be opposed to capital punishment, but I also just don't think that it's the government's right to take a life.
I mean, just aside from the conversation about like mortality and like the ethics of euthanasia, I just find this to be like peak cinema nerd pretentiousness.
Oh, for sure. This would play at the art
it.
houses, if there were art houses anywhere.
Like one of the comments said, I wonder what's the meaning behind the green and red. It looks like some kind of duality between the characters. This is so interesting.
Well, the thing is, the art director probably does have a meaning behind it. That's what's hilarious about it. It's
but like I was watching, I told you while I was in the middle of watching Breaking Bad for the first time, I noticed that they had all of these characters wear very specific color palettes in the show.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And I was like, I know it's intentional, and it pisses me off that it's intentional and that it has some kind of secret little meaning.
Even a show as surface level as CSI would do like color palettes per episode, where all the characters would have a color palette unique to their character.
Yeah, I lean toward being a bit of a Philistine.
Look, and me and you have this discussion all the time. Like, these aren't the movies that interest me. Never have been. Like, give me a Jason Statham action movie. And me and Mary literally were talking the other day about how I was like, I'm excited for Red One. She's like, it looks so bad. I'm like, I know, it's awesome. Like I've gotten really into watching shows that get not even one season. They get 13 episodes. Like, I'm talking like 2,000 shows.
Slow commitment.
That don't even get to the full seasons. They get canceled at episode 13 at like the mid-season finale. And I'm finding I'm having so much fun because most of them aren't long-term storytelling anyways.
Yeah.
They're just telling individual stories. I started watching the show Almost Human last night. It's a show with Carl Urban and Michael Ealy about a cop who has to pair with like an android and work with the android in the city, and they're dealing with like almost like replicants and bio warfare. And it was, you know, it was like 2 years after he made Dread, so there's a great theme there, and it's got an interesting look, and it didn't even get half a season, and I'd still rather watch that than whatever this is.
Whatever the hell this is. All right, let's catch up on some super chats. The ninja from Pop Culture Planet said, I heard Homeward Bound Escape from Springfield is coming soon and that Sassy becomes a hairless. Sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Potatoes for Seamus said, everyone don't forget to say hi to Shane H. Wilder. Hi, Shane.
I think we should get a third crisis party so that we can actually dance, because it felt wrong to dance during the euthanasia topic.
Oh, yeah.
If it's wrong to dance during the euthanasia topic, then I'm
Pedro,
wrong.
the director, and Tilda
I don't wanna
Swinton
be
and
right.
Julianne Moore would all dance during the euthanasia one.
And then they would tell you it's because they're deep.
Yeah.
And they understand
Euthanasia.
it. Yeah.
The ninja
More
from Pop
death.
Culture Planet said, nothing good, Shane, nothing good. Shane H. Wilder said, damn it, Potatoes, you're the Christmas card list. Oh, you're off the Christmas card list.
No.
He's on the naughty list. Potatoes for Seamus said, well, throw me in the fryer and call me crispy. Throw me in the air fryer.
2 more.
Greg Duvier said, happy belated birthday, Libby. Also,
you.
hi, Brett and Mary. Keep up the fun show. Let's go.
Thank you.
Let's go. The Manic Mustache said, in Red Battle Panda news, the bamboo we planted is coming in nicely. Just cleared another half for clover. Lucky we have enough land to routinely graze our battle pandas. Stay toxic, my friends.
I think at some point I want to start like archiving these
we need all
super
of the
chats
status
and turn it
updates.
into a story.
Yeah.
It should be like a coffee table book.
I mean, Battle Pandas sounds like a Saturday morning cartoon if ever I've heard one. So
I hope it's real.
let's hold off on the rest. Let's come back. Let's
All right.
talk about John Cena.
In a recent podcast interview, John Cena was asked once again why he isn't a father yet. And I didn't know this was something he was repeatedly asked about over the years. But now that he is the age of 47, it's looking like that is not in his future. And he's very much happy with that decision. And he gave his explanation for why. He said, I don't want them. I have a certain curiosity about life. And I also know the investment that it takes. And my biggest fear is, as someone who's driven, many times stubborn and selfish, I try to approach the world with kindness and curiosity, but I don't think I'm personally ready, nor will I ever be, to invest the time it needs to be a great parent, because I want to live life for all that it is. And I still have a lot to do, and I still want to do a lot. I have a wonderful partner I do it with. We've had open conversations about this. We share the same values. And he shared that after his divorce, he had to start off his new relationship with all of those uncomfortable conversations with his now wife, who is 32, I believe, during their first and second dates. Despite the discomfort, John Cena says these talks were great because they allowed both of them to face difficult moments together, helping them build a strong foundation for their relationship. He also mentioned how some people can be judgmental toward those who openly say they don't want children. Quote, it's human nature. We're all judgmental. I'd like to believe that I operate under the construct that everyone's okay living their life. He said that he had known he was comfortable with this decision ever since he was a teenager. He said like 15, 16, he knew he didn't want kids.
Hit puberty and just immediately is like...
I didn't want kids when I was 15 or 16 either. I was 100% sure that I was going to have no children.
He never like evolved past that. My opinions only hit that gray area during emotionally difficult times, and I'm very happy with where I stand. I have a lot of joy and fulfillment in my life, and that's pretty much where I stand on it. Him and his current wife began dating in 2019 and got married rather quickly during 2020. And in that relationship with his previous partner, he said he was willing to reverse his vasectomy in order to have children.
It must have been Nikki Bella.
Yes.
Yeah.
But
snip, snip, snap.
She didn't want him to regret reversing his vasectomy, which led to the end of their relationship. So it sounds like they were not on the same page about kids from the jump, and it only you know, reared its head later on in their relationship that this was a big problem, a big incongruity between them. And that's what led to their breakup.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is more presentism. Do you ever notice a lot of times we hear from these people who are like super secure about not wanting to have children, and they're in their late 30s or they're in their early 40s, and they're successful. They have plenty of money. They have all kinds of opportunities to like be personally fulfilled. They have relationships or whatever, and they get to do whatever they want. And it's because at that time in your life, that's like the first time in your life when stuff works out. Like if you can get to your late 30s, early 40s, and like you have a stable home, and you know, you have enough money to do stuff, and you can like afford your car payment, and you can go out to eat, and you can like have a decent life, it feels like that's going to last forever. And it also feels like you've finally gotten there, right? But it's the first time it happens, because the whole rest of getting to that point is really difficult. You know, like I bought my house a couple of years ago.
He's been successful for 20 years.
But like
so for him, that's not the case.
Sure, but like he has reached this pinnacle, and he's like, because the other part of it too is psychologically you're cool with yourself, you know? You're like, for the most part, you think, oh, I like hanging out with myself, like things are fine. Anyway, it's a form of presentism that I think is misguided, and I think that it becomes easy to regret not having children once you get to the point where you can't have them. I think that becomes an easy regret.
Well, he's not at that point, obviously, because he's a man, but
and his wife is 32.
Yeah, so they could have kids if they wanted to still.
Yeah.
But it just sounds like I feel this way right now, so I'm just going to rely on always feeling this way.
It's this assumption that your current feelings are your forever feelings. And that's part of the problem with euthanasia, right? I mean, there was a young woman in, what was it, Switzerland? She was like, I'm depressed, and I've been depressed for a long time, and I'm 24, and so I think I'd better kill myself. And the government was like, okay, go for it.
It was really, the saddest part was it was her therapist who told her she had no other options, and that's just unconscionable.
Yeah, that person should be disbarred.
Clearly.
Or whatever it is,
I know I saw Anya Taylor-Joy recently talking about her getting, her initial thoughts about marriage and how she eventually did get married, even though that was never something she dreamed about. She just said, I just wanted to act. I never ever thought that I would be like one of those people who gets married. And now that I have, I love it. And I'm so glad I did it. But that's, trusting your present self more than your future self, like you said.
You have to think about your future self and what your future self might want.
It's really funny because
your future self might want someone to hang out with when you're in your 70s.
Me and Olivia have been watching Bones from the start, and it's really funny because
which one is Bones?
It was with Emily Deschanel and David Boreanaz. And in the show, she's a forensic anthropologist. She's genius, and she's very sure of herself. She says she's never going to have kids. She doesn't want to get married. She doesn't want to have a family. She calls it an archaic institution. And the whole time, him, who's the Philistine of the show, that's how they portray him, even though he was like an army ranger. He's like, your opinion's going to change. You're going to want to have kids. You're going to want to get married. Like all of it. Like he has this just basic understanding of the human condition that just wasn't something that somebody who's a high-level scientist is necessarily going to have, because there are different types of intelligence entirely, and all of those things happen in the show. Literally, she goes through the whole thing where all her friends around her are getting married, all her friends around her are having kids, and she's just here. She's like, they're like, we got married, we had kids, it's better than we could have ever expected, and they're like, how are you doing? She's like, it's going exactly how I expected it to go. And it's supposed to be shown in a way where she's sad. She's sad that it's going exactly how she expected it to go. And it's like you said, that's a form of presentism, that she doesn't think that the world's going to change, and she doesn't think that her priorities will change. Certainly that's something that I've experienced personally, because 5-10 years ago, my life was in a vastly different place, and I couldn't see myself 2 years ahead, let alone 10 years ahead.
That's like
and now
every
that's
winter,
a very,
yeah.
very different thing, and I see very, very different things for myself and in the future, and that's a good thing. But when he's as successful as he is, it's probably a lot harder for him to see, you know, my changes were circumstantial to growth that had to do with mistakes that I'd made. Him not having that, it's a lot harder for him to see it as something that's going to happen.
Well, the last time that we talked about something similar to this was when Jonah Hill talked about being childless, and he's married as well. He said, you know, we just want to be able to smoke weed and watch movies naked and do whatever we want. And having a child just can't be a part of that lifestyle. But what struck me so differently about John Cena's comments are that he's openly saying, I'm selfish and stubborn. I don't want to change that. I don't want to become less of a selfish person. Therefore, I'm not going to have children. And for some reason, this prompted an outpouring of support. Like,
yeah, that's weird.
And not just support, but like very over the top praise for someone openly saying, I'm selfish and I'm never going to change that. I'm never going to aspire to not be selfish.
He also
One person said, like, the ironic part is that someone so thoughtful and practical that comes to the conclusion they shouldn't have kids is the exact kind of person that should have kids. The world is a funny place, but I respect his decision, of course.
What's funny about it is,
of course.
What's funny about it is me and you had a back and forth about this whole thing. But what I did realize is, like, he benefits first and foremost. We're not watching the clip, and what he benefits most from is he's very, very articulate, well-spoken, and media trained. So what he's doing is he's phrasing it in a way that sounds perfectly reasonable, and depending, I'm not going to pass my judgment on whether I think it is or it isn't. The point is that what he's saying, if it was said by a woman, I do believe she would have gotten more backlash. It wouldn't have been portrayed as self-reflective and understanding who you are. It would have been portrayed as selfish to the general public. I do actually believe that.
It's also much harder for a woman to get her tubes tied than it is for a guy to get a vasectomy, because doctors will be like, you'll regret it. And they
don't say that to the guys?
I don't think so.
Well, just medically, it's also obviously more invasive, but
right. But you can also reverse the tubal ligation. You can reverse that as well.
Sure.
But he also says he wants to live life for all it is, except he's cutting off a whole bunch of life.
A huge aspect of what a lot of people believe is one of the biggest parts of life.
One of the biggest things about having kids is that it allows you to see into the future, to like imagine much farther into the future than you can just of your own life. Like when you imagine your own life, you think like, oh, maybe I'll live to be 100. And you can sort of like imagine up to what experiences you might have until the point when you hopefully die a natural death, right? But once you have a child, you can like start to imagine, okay, maybe I will live to 100, but like my child will live for, however long after that. And you can imagine your child in having different experiences and what life would be like for them. And you can imagine their child. So it sort of gives you more life just in your imagination than you have in your own, naturally occurring life.
Yeah. It really disturbed me that there were all of these comments saying that he's actually honorable and he made a heroic decision almost by accepting the fact that he's a selfish person. Like, is it virtuous to see your own flaws and to do nothing about them? I don't see that as a virtuous decision.
I don't think he sees it as a flaw. I think he sees
to be selfish?
I think he sees his choices as an innate sense of who he is that he doesn't feel needs to be changed because he's not, in his mind, a bad person. Like I said, one thing about John Cena is he does a lot of charity work, whatever you think of charity. I think he's like the most, he's done the most Make-A-Wish Foundation. He's granted the most Make-A-Wish Foundation wishes of any person ever. And he probably sees that as his service to humanity in a way that has nothing to do with having kids. And he sees it as a way of kind of having his cake and eating it too, in a lot of ways. And I kind of likened it back to what I said about, in recovery, I saw a lot of people that were a different type of selfish, meaning that they weren't taking care of themselves. They were unhealthy. They had drug problems. They didn't do what they were supposed to do for those around them, and they still had kids. And those kids were then neglected and not taken care of.
Right.
That's a different type of selfishness. So if the idea here is that I'm supposed to choose between those two types of selfishness,
what is the lesser of two evils?
What is the lesser of two evils?
To not
I don't know
impose your own selfishness on vulnerable people. Yes, sure. But obviously the ideal here would be that he self-reflects, realizes that he is selfish to the point where he can't give himself to other people, and does something to change that. But now, I guess that's really the root problem here, is that people view selfishness as not a character flaw anymore.
It's a virtue.
It's
They
a
think of
virtue
it as
in
a
and of
virtue.
itself.
Yeah.
And that he's actually emotionally mature for coming to realize that he is totally self-involved and selfish and stubborn, and accepting that. Like, that's the personal evolution completed, and there's nowhere to go for after that.
I guess it's like we're grading on a scale, right? Like, he's an upstanding member of society. From what I remember, he's got good relationships with his family. He's married. If we're to assume that he treats his wife well and he cherishes her and he does all that he has to in his marriage to be a good husband, he gives back to his community. He makes movies that people find entertaining. He does all these various different things. This one specific area is just not one that he's going to reevaluate and reassess unless he has great cause to do so. Something would happen to do that. But I think if you asked the average person whether he's a net negative or a net positive society, not based on his movies, but based on all of these factors together, you're not going to look at this guy and say that he's a bad guy. Now, you can look at him and say that perhaps the idea of pushing personal selfishness as a virtue, as long as you can, use the right words to dress it up as a bad thing, then yeah. But, with all the things that are troubling the world and all the problems we have, I just don't see this as one that rates. For him personally.
Yeah.
Well, ultimately, I think the fundamental reason why we didn't see eye to eye on this when we were talking about it off air is because I am coming at this from religious view,
and I don't know his beliefs.
Human nature, really. I have a different view of human nature than you do, and I believe that all men are designed to be fathers, and all women are designed to be mothers. And the way that takes shape in each individual case is different. Usually, it means having biological children. Sometimes it doesn't. It
Adopting,
can be expressed in
can't.
different ways, but that's the disposition that every man and woman is born with. That's the way I see them as being designed. And that's just not a view of human nature that is widely accepted anymore. And people are generally living for themselves and their own desires.
And I will point out that in a lot of ways, like, there is nothing that feels more evil than the antinatalist movement at its worst. Meaning, like, when you see the people who, like, and maybe you're right. Okay, let me reevaluate. Maybe you're right. So the idea here is that he dresses it up in language that feels very rational, but that's not the worst of this stuff that you see, right? The worst of this stuff is the people who are doomerist when talking about these things and talk about, procreating as a form of evil. Now that's not what he's saying, but I do understand and do acknowledge that there is a very, very real movement that is anti-human in nature.
I think so too.
Looking at this
there is
subreddit r/childfree, and you look at this on any given day, there are tons of posts, a lot of people talking about abortion, right? But also just venting posts where they complain about people who have children and calling them brats, calling them trophies, calling them all of these demeaning names as if they're not human. And I have to believe that comes from a deep-seated, unresolved issue from their own upbringing, where they felt they were emotionally neglected. Perhaps they were, but they have not coped with that properly, and now they blame vulnerable children, the most vulnerable people in society, for their own existence.
I think part of it too is that we do have a social narrative that children are extra and not not something that you want to have in your life. And the acceptance several years ago, once we started seeing like the emergence of the mommy blogs, and then you had like the momfluencers after that. But we really started to see a trend among moms, you know, these wine moms or what have you, complaining about their children, complaining about having had children, complaining about, you know, wishing that they still had their lives back. There was a writer, I think it was Emily Bazelon, who had written about saying that she was so glad that she got divorced because she couldn't handle mothering full time. And as soon as we put our worst selves out there and say, you know, I'm unapologetic about who my worst self is, and this is my worst self, then not only do we, but the people we talk to start,
you don't deserve me at my best.
But we also start then aspiring to be our worst selves. We don't put an aspirational motherhood out there. We no longer look to, you know, Mary or any of the other, you know, mothers that we've seen through time who we can revere and say like, that was a great mom. We don't look at Mary Cassatt paintings and say like,
and the guy would be demonized for being mad at her for not acting her worst self anyways. Like if he's not willing to take her no matter how bad she's behaving, then he's a bad guy, which is not helpful at all. Also, it's not just that, it's the growth of the wine aunt as this glamorous lifestyle, which is basically like vapid, self-obsessed, materialistic. I have nieces and nephews that I can, you know, show up to birthday parties and
I drop in when it's convenient.
When it's convenient, right? There's a large, you know, push for that in society. So look, a lot of this does work against the growth of family in a lot of ways. And Hollywood for the last 20, 30 years has done a very, very good job of showcasing a lot of storylines wherein which family is a burden and family is a struggle and family is, because look, you can get great stories out of that. That doesn't mean there's not great stories there, but as society becomes more nihilistic and those types of shows become more common, it becomes that, and again, as the economy goes the way it's going, the middle class shrinks, it is seen as a luxury now to even be able to afford kids. I saw somebody in the chat mention like he's one of the people that could very much afford, you know, very easily to have and raise children.
Well, yeah,
right?
like one of the takes I saw in response to this interview was, well, for John Cena, having children is totally manageable and he can do everything he wants to do with his life and have kids. It's not mutually exclusive. You can just pay for a live-in nanny. And it's like, well,
what's that, right?
That's actually not good for the children. So yeah, you can't have it all. Like,
so can we get somewhere like between John Cena and Elon Musk? Let's find a happy middle ground.
Oh my gosh, like we're not even gonna open that can of worms. Let's just finish up our super chats. Put a girl on said, do it. You know what?
Put a girl on. Well, you can do that if we get the third crisis party, guys. Come on.
Red Dragon said the royal family had Princess Diana killed. Do you believe that theory?
That the royal family had her killed?
Yeah.
I don't think they liked her very much, and she said that throughout her, you know, little time as
she didn't seem very likable, to be honest.
Do you think?
I mean, she behind the scenes, I thought, was like notoriously crazy.
Well, the whole time she was married to Prince Charles, he was like banging Kamala, whatever.
Camilla, different name.
Yes, different, yeah.
Well, yes, that's like she had valid reasons to be angry and unpleasant, right? But I heard that she actually was like diagnosed with a personality disorder, and
maybe. I mean, I think that she was clearly killed by the paparazzi. I don't know if the royal family.
I read that as the royal family sent the super chat, and it was the Red Dragon had her killed. I'm like, that sounds like a cool conspiracy. Tell me about that.
Who's that?
Is that like a gang?
The thing about the TV shows, though, with all of the unhappy families, is it goes back to the Tolstoy quote. You know, all happy families are alike, but all unhappy families are
unique in their own way.
Yeah. And so, like, it's easier to make stories about the unhappy families. And there are the happy family ones, like Dick Van Dyke shows. Those were always happy families. Even the Brady Bunch.
I've always tried.
The Cosby Show was a happy family.
Those are kind of a relic of an age past now.
Sadly,
in a lot of ways. But I always try to point that out. I was like, look, I don't necessarily believe that all those writers writing those went in with the express desire to give an anti-family message. It's that they look for where the conflict lies as a storyteller, and what naturally forms from that is that narrative.
But what you should be looking for is not just where the conflict lies, but you should be looking for the love in the scene. Like, where's the love in the scene? Why are these people, why are they in conflict? Because what I see a lot in entertainment is you see why they're in conflict, but you don't see why they're in the same room. Like, why? How'd you guys even get here?
I'm sorry. There's so many characters that are on TV today where I'm like, who would talk to you? You're an awful person. Like, I tried to watch this show called Tracker last year, and there's this lawyer. I literally almost threw a shoe at the TV. I'm like, nobody in the world, unless you are the world's greatest lawyer, no man in the world would subject himself to more than 10 seconds in a room with your bitch ass. Get the fuck off the screen.
Like Hugh Laurie on Scrubs.
Hugh Laurie what do you mean in House?
Yeah,
but that's because he has an indispensable skill.
Exactly.
The whole point of the show is that they need him.
He should have been on Scrubs.
That's the whole point, is that he actually tells that story. He goes, the reason he became a doctor, I get to break my rule. I was going to bring up House during the euthanasia debate because there's a great episode about that where he says death is always ugly and unclean, and it's never.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, he does. But the point is, he says, like, his dad was stationed overseas, and he talked about this janitor who was banished from society in this hospital, and whenever he used to be a doctor, and that they hated him. They gave him, evil looks, but whenever they needed him, whenever nobody had the answer, they had to go to this guy, right? And that's why he likes being who he is that even though he's a dick, and even though he's unbelievably unpleasant to be around, you still need him, right? That's different than somebody who's like, I can find a lawyer in the phone book who's not going to be a prick to me. I'm not calling you. Who the hell's friends with these people?
Josh Love said Roan has cobbled her look together from strands of items found at Spirit Halloween on November 1st. Yeah, it was like Walmart version of the Met Gala.
And
back
she's
in
taping
2018.
she's like secured her boobs off to the side with Spirit gum.
did? Oh,
I don't know. I'm just
that's
making a
creative.
joke. Just joking.
20 Justin said Harry Styles is probably the biggest male pop star right now. Same with all the other ex-1D members. At least my fiance and her friends agree. Is Harry Styles still a big deal? I don't really see anything about him anymore. I guess he's just on a hiatus. Potatoes for Seamus said Brett throws his dishes away just like his shirts.
Look, not anymore, but when I was
Single use
back in the day, that had been known. Like, so speaking of the mommy blogs and stuff like that, I saw this video the other day. It's like my kids, every time they get done eating eating something, and it just shows them that it's like, should I throw it in the sink? No. Should I throw it? They always throw the fork away. The fork ends up in the garbage somehow.
That's annoying.
Yeah.
Gollum something or other, I don't know what the rest of this username even is, said, have you guys heard what has been happening in Australia recently? Massive criminal protests against a War Machines expo. Acid and human feces thrown at cops, 30 of whom were hospitalized. Insane AF.
I have not heard that.
No, I don't know anything about that. Do you?
No.
You pay attention to the news. I don't know.
Hear about that.
Andrew Yu said, what's your opinion on Kamala mewing at the debate? Was she gooning and jelking as well?
She was definitely not gooning and jelking. Mewing maybe, but she was not edging. She was doing none of those things.
Continuing her mewing streak.
I mean, I guess I don't know where the camera was focused. She could have been, but that would have been very, very uncomfortable for all people involved. It was bullshit to find out that the moderator was her sorority sister or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
That's some bullshit.
That was weird, wasn't it? Shane H. Wilder said Rome wasn't built in a day. Ha, got him. What?
Build in a day?
I don't know. I like boobies, said Libby, will you be my new mom?
No. Sorry.
Good answer.
Yeah.
Shane H. Wilder said R.I.P. Grumpy Cat, never forget. Yeah, that was an old photo. I miss Grumpy Cat. Greg Duvier said PETA blocked me on X. Well, that's something to be proud of. I wonder what you did. John Black said Caitlin Clark had the same answer as Mahomes after liking Taylor Swift's IG post.
Yeah, I also hate it when people police your likes and go to look at what you've...
Oh, they were cataloging every single verified account that liked Taylor's post and posting all of those in a thread just to keep track of who's being liberal enough.
Are you being a good little lib?
Are you being a good little bold lib?
Man, I want Angela Bel Camino on the show. It'd be so funny.
She's so iconic.
It'd be so funny.
Red
You know, I mean,
Snow.
she should be. Nobody should be campaigning harder than her right now.
I
as
want her to
childless
collab
cat
with
lady.
Cities by Diana.
Yes.
What's Cities by Diana?
It's just another one of our
I have no
weird
idea how to
chronically
explain.
online obsessions. She's a TikToker who does like comedy videos about civic planning, I guess.
Basically,
She herself, you can tell, is a liberal who likes walkable cities, and she doesn't like the fact that we have car culture in the U.S.
But do you gas max?
She makes satirical videos in her character as someone who like hates walkable cities and hates public transportation.
I'm just gonna
and
find a
loves
random-
cars and loves fossil fuels.
She's also doing a new
It's just
series
the
now.
dumbest thing ever when I explain it, but it's so funny.
She's also doing a new series now where she's redesigning all the state flags.
That's great. We love Cities by Diana.
I'm gonna find at least one and we'll watch at least one today.
Okay, good.
Yeah.
Red Snow said put a mocha on.
No,
I don't think that's gonna
it's never
happen.
gonna happen.
Potatoes for Seamus said pets being eaten in Ohio brings a new meaning to Skibbity Ohio Riz. Anyways, yeet that mocha onto the show. For real, no cap. Gucci. Hi, Libby. Happy B-Day.
Thank you.
That was a lot. Sirenko Productions said youths in Asia are part of transhuman movement. LOL. Would you like to elaborate on that further? They were confused about the link between euthanasia and transhumanism.
I haven't watched this one in a long time, but it's about the city of Detroit, so we'll watch this one here.
Transhumanism seeks to eliminate humanity from humanity, and this is part of that. It involves the intentional evolution of human beings with the help of technology toward being their better selves. It does not necessarily mean living forever. So euthanasia would be a natural extension of transhumanism in that it too is the use of technological advancements to remove the concept of natural life from the beings that are human.
They just eliminate all human suffering.
Yep.
But like, I guess they see the death pods as an intermediate solution in the meantime before we are able to download our consciousness.
Yeah, I mean, ideally you would download your consciousness while you're in the death pod.
Just go ahead and watch
Right,
the
right.
show Dollhouse, where they upload.
That's a great show.
Yes, everyone's consciousness onto a drive, and then you can just put it into any
Who's
human.
that,
you want.
Eliza Dushku?
Eliza
Yeah.
Dushku. Yep.
Yeah.
Here we go.
Dushku.
Dude, here we go.
Z can try to cancel Eminem all they want, but they can never cancel his beautiful hometown of Detroit, Michigan. Known as the Motor City, it is an altar to the worship of the automobile and all the greatness it brought to this nation. Decades before Slim Shady changed the rap game forever, General Motors, Ford, and Chrysler were the only game in town, exporting their way of life to every American household, by force if necessary. As home to the Davison Freeway, the world's first depressed urban freeway, built in 1940, Detroit has been at the forefront of urban innovation for nearly a century. But lately, those pesky kids and their allies have been trying to cancel one of Detroit's greatest cultural achievements. The plan is to remove historic Interstate 375 and replace it with an inferior boulevard. But against all odds, Detroit is resilient, with a waterfront filled with gorgeous parking lots and not one but two downtown stadiums. Named after cherished American brands, the Motor City is a car-brained highway maxer's dream come true. Home to the original suburban sprawl, the Detroit metro area extends outward from its iconic downtown, imposing itself in all its glory across not one but two countries, taking a part of Canada with it. With wide stroads and even wider interstates radiating out in all directions, what you have witnessed today is greater than anything mere mortals can achieve. It's no wonder that Michigan's largest city is also the location of the founding of the sacred juggalo culture. If you've ever been down with the clown, you have the city of Detroit to thank. The Motor City's contributions to global heritage cannot be understated. With a proud tradition of great music, fast cars, heavy industry, and that weird square-shaped pizza, it might just be the perfect city.
I had some of that pizza. It was at Buddy's, and it was good. I liked it.
I still had no idea that was a type of
Detroit?
pizza, that Detroit pizza was a thing. And when I was in Detroit in December, in January, I didn't get a chance to try it.
But it's just square. Like, what's the difference?
I guess I'm gonna have to try it this year.
Yeah, it's square, and it was because they used some kind of tray for automotive parts was what they used to make the pizza in. That's why.
But
it's
otherwise,
square.
it's just normal pizza.
No, it's not great. I mean, it's sort of like it's sort of like a cross between you know what it is? It's kind of like if you had street corner Sicilian pizza, kind of.
I don't even know what that
Sicilian
would be.
pizza is like the big thick crust.
Oh, okay.
So it's a big thick crust. It's
Okay.
most comparable to like a Sicilian pie.
Got it.
Yeah.
I'll soon partake. Nebik said, my wife's grandmother asked me to help end her life in secret by helping her overdose on her meds. It was one of the hardest things I've ever done to say no to one I love, begging for my help to end pain. She had terminal cancer. It sounds like that would have been illegal anyway, even if you had done that. But yeah, that's incredibly sad. I'm sorry that happened. It sounds like you made the right decision. Shane H. Wilder said, what happened to giving up your pain and suffering to God? Sewer slide falls into denying the gift of the Holy Spirit, the unforgivable sin. It's taking control over your own life and destiny when that should belong to God. Corey Anderson said, sup, Mary, Brett, and Libby. Libby, did you hear Mary is having triplets? Crazy, right?
This conspiracy will just keep going.
It's a phantom.
Stop, guys.
It's a phantom pregnancy.
Yes,
that's what it is.
If it's true, if it was true, you would have to teach classes on how to not gain any weight while being pregnant.
Yeah. Be a skinny legend
Yeah.
while pregnant with 3 babies. Corey Anderson said John Cena can't have kids due to steroids, probably.
That could very well be.
Wait, is that
reason.
possible? Like steroids making people
Yes.
infertile?
Yeah.
Wow.
It like shrinks your sperm count to like nothing.
You're so manly that you cannot conceive.
Yikes.
Did you see
Brewmaster?
today that like the world's biggest bodybuilder died? He was just 36. Died of
but
a
why
heart
did-
attack.
Yeah, I saw that he died. I did not dig into the story though.
He just looked like Onyx. He
Did
did.
he look like Liver King?
He looked like Onyx, the Pokemon. He looked like he was just a giant boulder. The dude was jacked. But yeah, 36.
Why?
I'm guessing from
Steroid use? Yeah. It's not worth it. Brewmaster Monk said, yo, Libby, it's twerkin' Tuesday, or it's twerkin' Thursday, sorry. Let's see your moves. And Bratmobile, I haven't thought of them in years. I'll have to check Spotify for my drive home.
If you know I listen to Bratmobile, you know I don't twerk.
Right, yeah, that only makes sense. Corey Anderson said, I imagine Mary drives a jacked SUV. Is that accurate? Also, Anya Taylor-Joy could play Sid in a live-action remake of Ice Age. Put a girl on.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wait, Anya Taylor-Joy?
Yeah.
I think that Anya Taylor-Joy is gorgeous, but that's just me.
Apparently
everyone wants to be a hater.
I was like, I can't make fun of her because the joke everyone makes is that her eyes are very far apart, but my eyes are very close together. So, stones, glass houses, all that stuff.
I like that her eyes are far apart. It's like the trendy look right now, but I like it.
Look into 2 counties at once.
I think it's a cool look. I'm not going to tell you what car I drive, dude.
for safety reasons.
Yeah. Corey Anderson said, thanks for the image of a naked Jonah Hill, Mary. Look, thank Jonah Hill for that. He was the one who brought that up, okay?
Yep.
Potatoes for Seamus said, Brett, Mary, and Libby, what is your ideal amount of kids you would like to have, and any preference on boys or girls?
I think 3 would have been good. As it is, I have 1 child, and I'm very happy about that, and I am happy to be his mom. But I think 3 would be good. A friend of mine has 4, and that seems like too many. Another friend of mine has 3, and so like she and her husband are now just a little outnumbered. But 4 seems like you're in trouble.
They're gonna gang up on you, and
Yeah.
we're not eating meatloaf for dinner, even though I would love to eat.
Plus, like, she'll tell me, she'll be like, so I took us all out to dinner, and we didn't even go anywhere nice. And the next thing I know, it's $150, for takeout.
Well, yeah,
that's
sucks.
rough.
It's.
We went out
costs a
for
lot.
ice creams when we went to visit them.
It costs a lot when it's just 2
and it was
people
like,
going out for dinner.
she spends $50 on ice creams, and we're getting out for like $20, and that's with the whipped cream and the sprinkles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you? I mean, if you don't want to talk about it, that's fine.
2.
2 is nice because that's replacement rate.
2.
It's actually not,
isn't it?
You have to have 3.
Well, sorry, I can't I can't do all the work for society.
Why is replacing one more than the number of people you are.
If you want to be above replacement rate.
Oh, no, yeah.
You have to have
replacement.
2.1 technically. So if you have 1/10 of a child plus the other two, then you're above replacement rate. But I'm Catholic, so I'm not allowed to have a preference.
There you go. and honestly, like, not to sound like I would like to take the path of least resistance, but it feels like raising boys, given the culture we live in, would be less stressful than raising girls.
Really, I think either way is probably good.
It just feels like all of the things.
If you're raising them right, you have nothing to worry about.
It just feels like society is continuously trying to, with the way the culture is, trying to pull girls into all sorts of bad things. So
I definitely wouldn't want to be one of those people that for some reason only has boys or only has girls.
And I wouldn't want to have a preference, like a hardline preference anyways, because any child is a blessing anyways.
Well, yeah. Corey Anderson said, I have a vasectomy. The longer you have it, the least likely it is reversible. My doctor said to treat it as permanent. Yeah, a lot of people get misled and they believe that it's reversible when it's not as reversible as they say. Shane H. Wilder said, I think the issue with his selfishness is that he is not self-sacrificing. He is not willing to put others ahead of his own comforts and complacency.
I mean, if we're holding him to that standard, then I would say that a lot of society is that way now.
Yeah. Well, he's different, obviously, because he's putting any self-sacrifice second to his, like, indomitable pursuit of professional success. He's obviously a highly functioning, highly successful person, super wealthy and ambitious, and that in and of itself is outside of the norm. Mm-hmm. So a lot of people are going to deviate from the norm that way. It doesn't mean it's mutually exclusive, though. Zach Yandel said, I think y'all are a big deal. Thank you,
well,
I think.
Thank you. We appreciate that.
Greg Duvier said, I believe PETA blocked me for posting a picture of a chuck roast on my smoker. Okay, so you tagged them in the post. You started the beef, if you will. Shane H. Wilder said, on a lighter note, Mary, the latest Catholic talk show is over Blessed Carlo Acutis. There was a lot of info I didn't know. I'm definitely going to go check that out. Thanks for telling me. I'm just almost finished reading his biography, and I am obsessed. Sorenko Productions said Detroit-style pizza is underrated AF.
I didn't even know it was a thing until literally this year. So
that means it's underrated AF?
It must be very underrated because I didn't know it existed.
I don't know. Libby made it sound like it's nothing special, but I'll try it at some point.
I liked it. I mean, I would eat it again.
It's pizza.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd eat almost any pizza.
Yeah.
I don't have strong preferences.
It's one thing.
I'm not a pizza snob.
Yeah. I think it's interesting that there are kinds of pizzas that then become the cheap freezer version. And Elio's is the cheap freezer version of Detroit pizza.
Okay.
And I would also eat an Elio's. I have no problem with an Elio's.
Not picky.
I'm getting pizza tonight.
We talked about pizza for too long.
I've made my decision. I'm getting pizza
It's
tonight.
already done.
I'm making bulgogi, but I'm having pizza on Saturday.
All right. Guys, before we go, would you hit the like button on this video, please, and subscribe to this channel if you have not done so already. And Libby, thank you.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
Where can they find you?
You can find me on, what used to be Twitter, at Libby Emmons, and also at thepostmillennial.com and humanevents.com. And if you want to hear from me every day, you can check out my newsletter. You can subscribe to it at thepostmillennial.com/Libby.
Perfect.
Yeah.
You guys can send me validation on Instagram at Mary Archived, or you can send me hate on X, formerly Twitter, also Mary Archived.
Perfect. If you guys would like to follow me, Instagram and Twix at Brett Dasovic on both of those platforms. This show is here 5 days a week, Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. We are on Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, and Spotify if you would prefer to listen rather than watch this show. And if you want to follow the show on social media, we are on Twix at popculture_show, Facebook and not TikTok at Pop Culture Crisis, and on Instagram at Pop Culture Crisis Pod. Guys, we will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye.